What is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Friday. Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. 2 hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation, taking you all the way up. The lock, crunch time coming in. About an hour and 15 minutes. You got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. You got Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. Cheeseisgood. STL cards going in as well. And, of course, speaking of millionaire winners, it's a millionaire day. Individual millionaire winners, we got Bobby Gomes. Took down a milli. Shout out to Jonas Gray. We learned that the other day. You had the almanac. We never saw him again after he slept in, right? Didn't sleep in one day and he just disappeared. Whatever happened to Jonas Gray? Is that basically that was the end?
That was it. I think Bill was a hardo at the time, right? Like the Malcolm Butler situation after that. And so I don't know. I would have given him another shot.
Maybe it was just an excuse or whatever. Maybe he got four touchdowns on the 1 yard line. I don't recall the situation, but I remember he slept in and we never saw him again. He missed a practice or something. But hey, it's DFS. We care about that day and that day only. And that day, Bobby, you took down a milli. Chop raises you 2 individual days of $1 million. What's up, Chop? How's Friday treating you? Happy Friday.
It's good, Dean. Friday's good. Got some baseball here, a real slate coming up, and some Papa John's on the way, for later on. I got a scheduled delivery. I know you don't like it, but
2-time millionaire winner at Papa John's.
Yeah, what else is there? What else? What else is there here? The kids like it, so we're gonna get it. And just the weather's passed, nice and sunny outside, so I can take a good walk after the show and clear my head. And Dean, for as bad of a week as I've had with my, I know everybody wants the update on the Robin Hood. No bad update. No update is a bad update, so no update, so it's a bad up. But even as tough as I've got it, Dean, as bad of a week as it's been, still better than Bobby Gomes, who had the Celtics march all over him, dude, and now he's got to deal with Siege and Kirky and everybody attacking him on the Twitter machine, man.
Ooh, did we open the blinds, Bobby? Did we look outside? The parade was going on right outside your apartment, right? I would imagine so.
Yeah, right out. I went out earlier this morning. People were getting all their green on and stuff. So, yeah, everyone's partying, and I'm staying in my house. Kirky got to hit all this traffic now. Now Kirky's. I'm filling in for Kirky. He has a doctor's appointment. He's going to see what I'm talking about, man. It's going to be rough out there.
Oh, I didn't realize you were a late swap. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you. I just saw your name pop up on the email. You were late swapped in today? Didn't know that.
Yeah. He texted me last night.
By the way, Derek in chat says Papa John's thin crust isn't half bad. And is that the rousing endorsement you want in the back of the DVD shop? Is that that this is that gets you to buy the product, right? This specific crust is not half bad. Sold.
Yeah, it's weird, Dean, but pizza's the one thing I could just care less. There's a few pizzas out there that are bad, sure, but otherwise it all tastes the same to me, and it's fine. I'm good. I'm not picky. Dean, I'll let you know this much. I used to work in a restaurant, back of the house, front line, chef material, Dean, kitchen manager material. I had it all going on. I did not make it as far as I did in the restaurant business based on my palate. I did it with my work ethic, right? My palate is terrible. It's weird. I could eat anything just about. I don't even have to season food. I don't even have to put salt in food. I'm fine with. It's just a weird thing, Dean. So I'm not really. Doesn't really bother me.
Did you work at a steakhouse or what? What did you cook up in the back of the house?
Italian. We had Italian food, Dean.
What's your go-to? I'm coming to dinner. You want to impress me? What are you making, Chop? What's your go-to? What's your number one on the board?
What am I gonna make? Probably some sort of a chicken Alfredo. Maybe we used to have a dish called a bow tie festival. I loved it with a little farfalle pasta, the bow tie looking pasta, and some Alfredo and heavy cream and tomatoes and bacon and grilled sliced chicken. And yeah, that'd probably be the one right there. It's really good.
Do you want to come over for dinner, Bobby? Did he sell you? I know that you're kind of a connoisseur when it comes to Italian food. Were you sold?
So he did sell me on the dish, but the Papa John's, Papa John's, brings him back down, right?
If somebody tells you, like, they recommend a movie, Bobby, and then you watch the movie and it's terrible, do you want to get their next movie recommendation? Now you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you deal with me all the time.
I've already prefaced it, man. Like I already told you guys, I don't have a sophisticated palate, so it doesn't. I'm already there. I'm a build guy. I strictly go by the build, right? I like that was the key to the success in the restaurant business. You look at that menu, you memorize it inside and out better than anybody else can, and you're able to execute it like that because the orders come at you fast, Dean. You know that. So that's the key to it. But speaking of movies, Dean, come on. We've had a long time now. Please tell me you've seen Apocalypto.
Oh, geez.
Oh, my God.
It's on the
Here
list.
We go. Oh,
I finally watched Vertigo. It only took me 70 years. I got around to watch Vertigo the other day. I watched that the other night. And the Hitman movie. Is it called The Hitman on Netflix? That was
pretty good. That was pretty good.
What's the dude's name? We talked about this, Bobby. What's the guy's name, the lead in Hitman? He's going to be a star. He's pretty solid. We don't have many like stars under 35 at this point, but I did enjoy that movie. But,
I have absolutely no idea. The Hitman, is that the video game? The video game?
No,
I don't think it was me.
Glenn Powell. Yeah. Maybe I talked about it with somebody else. I thought we had this conversation about Glenn Powell. Yeah, he's legit. He's pretty solid. By the way, Kirkwood hanging out in chat says he can confirm he's listening in the car. The traffic does stink. I would imagine so.
Yeah,
5 o'clock.
Go through it every day. It's still bad. Like regardless of the parade, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Oh, Dean, let's not gloss over the headline here. If Kirky's in chat, is he going to release his 12-unit play tonight to get back for the 6-unit play last night? We need the 12-unit Kirk.
I thought you were going to say release something else because he's been threatening that for a while.
Let's release the 12-unit. We can't let Siege off the hook. Siege had his 5-unit play. He says it hit. I don't know. I didn't get the really good line he got, I guess. Then Kirk releases his 6-unit play. It was a little bit of a downer, but the 12 units coming up tonight.
I don't know about. I guess I'm happy I missed out on his 6-unit play. I guess it was a stinker, it was a loser. I don't know much about it, but I guess it's a good thing I avoided it. He's just going to martingale it. Next is going to be 24 units, and
that's how you do it, brother. That's tout life. That's how you do it.
All his Celtics money is going to be gone really quickly. Alex in chat, by the way, says I was front of house. So was I. The worst thing was when the back of the house went rogue. Yeah, that would happen sometimes, and that would make for some fun nights for sure. All right, we'll have to have a conversation at some point, Shop, about your back of the house stories. I'm sure you have a couple good ones. Or did you never want to be front? You always want to be a back of house guy?
Oh yeah,
I want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to people like that. I'd rather just put my head down and actually work. I don't want to have to schmooze for a tip, dude. I couldn't do it.
You don't want to show off that sparkling personality. All right, 10 gamer today. I did mention Kevin Roth, by the way. We do have a couple games where we have an eye on, right? Nothing to freak out about it just yet. So I'm going to give a refresh. Last I saw, just straight yellow for New York, Atlanta at New York. Also yellow in Coors, other game in Coors. 2 bad teams, Washington, Colorado. It might be worse if Abrams doesn't go. I don't think we have a Washington lineup just yet. He has not played the last couple games due to, a wrist? I think it's something on his hand, possibly. We'll see. He's also got, several times this year has been scratched. But currently we are projecting him in. That's the biggest total on the board, Washington at Colorado. Almost 6 runs. Everything else looks pretty good. Roth will come on if any sort of issues pop up. Pitching-wise is really tricky. Looks like ownership will be spread out. Currently, the most popular pitcher we're seeing right now is Carlos Rodon on DK, almost 29%. Dylan Cease at 26%, taking on Milwaukee. Chris Sale in New York versus the Yankees. Tough matchup. 24% for him. Kirby, best matchup, but not the most elite of Ks, but he's taking on the Marlins. At least for efficiency, he should be pretty good. And then there's some other, Chris Paddock, Eovaldi. We'll talk about Hurts in Coors just because the Rockies are terrible and he was spectacular against the Marlins. And there's another pitcher that's kind of cheap that I'm really thinking about. I'm curious what you guys, what your thoughts are. Give me the, Bobby, give me the overview. What are you seeing as far as tonight's 10 gamer? It feels wide open to me.
Yeah, it feels pretty wide open. Pitching is pretty awful. Outside of that, there's definitely bats to spend up on. Currently, I'm getting a lot of pay downs at my pitchers. And at the pitcher position, so I don't really think I'm paying up too much. Obviously, it's a Coors slate, and we do have the Washington. We have to wait on that lineup because of Abrams, but I'm going to like bats in that game. Also, I like the Cincinnati Reds, and then the Red Sox as well, that game. So, yeah, interesting slate, just because pitching isn't the greatest. And then there's some bats to spin up for. 10-game slate, so no one's going to be overly chalky. That's pretty much how I'm kind of looking at it right now.
John correcting in chat. I don't know why I said Hertz, but yeah, the T. I just added it because I guess I'm a big fan of car rental companies, I suppose. John Hers throwing baseballs tonight versus the Rockies. Chop, what do you got? Give me the overview. What are you seeing? John Gray is now starting for Texas. Did that just happen? Because I thought it was Eovaldi. I'm seeing Don Yeezy. We can trust him. Did that just come in? Or no, wait, that message has disappeared. I'm not sure what's happening. We'll figure it out.
Come on, Yeezy.
Well, no, I think he was right. John Gray is starting tonight for Texas.
Now John Gray's in there. Oh, boy.
Didn't he get his face fully punched in last start?
Yeah, he did. Right? So I don't think that really. But so did Eovaldi, I think. I'm not sure. But
John Gray's starting tomorrow for Max Scherzer.
Oh, come on.
Come on, man.
Not easy throwing me off. Unbelievable.
He was just trying to be helpful, Dean. He was trying to be helpful.
He
was trying to be helpful.
Yes. Well, maybe he'll get his face punched in tomorrow.
Cut easy some slack, Dean.
I did. We do appreciate the assistance, but I get tripped up with that sometimes too. When you see the note and it's like, oh, Saturday. That's right. Today's Friday. Chop, continue. Your thoughts as far as the overview tonight.
Yeah, wide open is a really good term for it. There's 10 games, but there's really just so much. You have a Coors Field game, and the weather is starting to pick up there to where they're really starting to put runs on the board, Coors Field style now. So you got that to worry about, but then at the same time, that could be a snoozer of a game based on who's playing and everything in that game. So, but I think there's some really solid options at the top of the pitching board. There's some really bad options at the bottom that you can stack against. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is really wide open. This is going to be very interesting to get into.
Hey, Bobby, I don't know if you were talking about weather, and I know we've talked about in the past about Weather Edge and the sample size of Weather Edge. So it's kind of interesting things because you would think, and you mentioned that Boston-Cincinnati game, 96 degrees, 1 mile per hour to center field, really no wind essentially, but it's scalding. It's hot. 69 is the dew. But in 16 games, just 16 games, Bobby, that's a small sample. We've seen a decrease in homers at 23%, increase in runs at 10%. I assume it's good hitting weather just because it's 96, and I'm not freaking out about that sample size. And it's kind of the same deal in New York with the Yankees, and we saw a bunch of runs last night on the Baltimore side. Even the Yankees put up some runs. It's still pretty hot there, 86. So it has the fire emoji, but just neutral essentially. 142 game sample, big boy sample. Essentially no difference as far as homers, a 2% decrease in runs. And I guess I'll mention Coors as well. Not as hot, 79. Wind blowing in a little bit from left center, but still in a big sample, 164 games, a bump in homers at 5%, a bump in runs at 2%. Thoughts as far as the heat in some of these spots here and weather just in general? Is that affecting your thoughts?
Yeah, just from a stack perspective, I definitely like the places where the weather is better. Like you said, Cincinnati and the Red Sox. I think what's it currently in? Oh shoot!
Yeah, the 16 game
sample. Little team.
96.
What game? Yeah, I'm gonna be over on both those offenses. I would imagine a lot of people are there too.
Yeah, you said you're freezing up, or I'm freezing up?
No, my screen was freezing up, and I was trying to scroll through Weather Edge.
Okay, just wanted to make sure if there's any tech issues. In chat they're saying how could there only be a 16 game sample for Cincy? That doesn't seem right. My guess is there's basically no wind, so maybe that's kind of a strange do. It's 69. I don't know if that's not standard. I don't really know why the sample is so small. It does seem pretty small, but that's what Weather Edge has given us. Chop, what do you got as far as weather stuff? Anything of note? 84 in Cleveland. It's kind of scrolling on through. A couple of fire emojis, like we said, New York and Cincinnati. Pittsburgh, that's not on the slate. Philadelphia, not on the slate. I think it's just that's all we got as far as the games that are relevant to us. Anything of note?
No, when I scroll through, I do a pretty quick scroll because a lot of it's already baked into everything. So I just want something just like to jump out at me. And Roth's doesn't have anything red, so we should be okay there. And as far as the weather edge, there wasn't anything that like totally jumped out that I don't think the team totals, implied totals, and projections aren't already accounting for. So we're good. I can scratch that off my list.
Bill Miller currently projected to be the home plate umpire tonight for the Marlins and Trevor Rogers, and that's an interesting start because I'm probably going to have a pairing of those two guys in particular lineups. I think Bobby was kind of alluding to some cheap pitchers, and maybe I'm a bit of a Trevor Rogers homer, and I know he's been pretty rough this season, but he's facing Seattle, and I just believe he's better than what he's shown so far. Maybe that's on me, and he's just so cheap. He's so cheap, but maybe we could start at the top. But I mean, if you want to tease that, I kind of teased it already, Bobby. Is Trevor Rogers somebody you're considering because he's very much in my DK pool as an SB2.
He's currently my highest owned pitcher in terms of my exposure. So
love it.
Yeah, I like
Let's
Rogers.
do it. Holding hands.
I like him versus Seattle. I will say Bill Miller definitely helps. I like Miami bats too, for what it's worth. On the Seattle side, you can definitely play Seattle for leverage. I think it does help Kirby as well, right? Like Kirby's a guy who likes to work around the strike zone, so I have a good bit of Kirby. Spending up
he's just not going to walk anybody.
Yeah, he's not going to walk anyone. Versus pitch mix, the Marlins are pretty good. There's definitely like Jazz, Chisholm, Sanchez, De La Cruz, Berger. Those guys I kind of like versus Kirby, but we'll definitely have some Kirby. So playing both sides of that game. Dylan Cease is my favorite spend up currently. I think it would be between him and Sale. I just think Cease is in a very strong matchup versus Milwaukee. Milwaukee's really struggled versus right-handed pitching pretty much all season. So like him, DJ Hers is the third pitcher I'm getting, and I feel like I need to get my exposure down a little bit just because I like the Colorado side. Colorado's been hot. Hers is like the pricing versus he's 6'3". It's the matchup, but he's in Colorado, right? So he's definitely wary chalk. Like I wouldn't be too excited to get to him too much. Next, I have Rodon. I'm lowering Rodon because I really like Atlanta bats today. Like correlating them with Sale. I don't know. I don't love Rodon. I get it. Acuna's out. But if the Atlanta bats, yeah, there's Atlanta's obviously not the same team. Like you can force Rodon, but 8,600. Like I just want to lower my exposure there a little bit. Nathan Eovaldi, I will be playing. Probably going to play both him and Singer a little bit, but also going to play those offenses. Paddock versus Oakland would be the guy. It's a steep price tag for Paddock at 8,700, but I just think versus the matchup, like he's my favorite. He gets the best matchup, I think, in terms of like just getting Oakland in Oakland pitchers ballpark. So those are the pitchers that I'm really considering. I'm a little Singer mixed in, but not too much.
If you care about such things, Bobby, last start, Paddock, he's going back-to-back against Oakland. Some people talk about how it's a slight downgrade seeing the same team back-to-back. And he also got shellacked for what it's worth. Oakland really pummeled him for 5 runs in less than 3 innings. Do you care about that or not so much?
I do care about that, so maybe I should rethink that a little bit. But currently, I get him in there just because this slate isn't the greatest for pitching. But when you do see pitchers going against a team and it's within 7 days, it becomes like a chess match. And it isn't something that I'd regularly like to target. But in the context of the slate, like he's definitely going to make my player pool. I don't know. Are we just forced to play DJ Hers and Coors versus Colorado? Like, I don't want to do that. Cutter Crawford versus Cincy. Like, I think he's been bad. Like, he started off the season pretty good. And now he gets Cincinnati. The Cincinnati lefties, like, I just have my worries with Crawford in that heat. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be one of these like Singer or Eovaldi. I think with the stack correlated is a good way to build tonight. No one's going to play Singer, I would imagine, versus Texas, and no one's going to play Eovaldi versus. I think the Royals are a sneaky stack, so they're pitchers that I'll be like a little above or at the field on, and I just think they're going to be relatively lower owned.
Giving a refresh now to our ownership stuff. Let's see if we got a new. Let's see. Well, it's like 15 minutes old. Of course, this stuff gets refined the closer we get to lock. That is, Rodon is still the most popular guy at 29% on DK. I don't know if I love him. You mentioned the Atlanta side. I think it's one of those like you could do both things in different lineups.
There's a couple different spots in this slate where that's the case, right? I think the so. Feel I'm getting. Yeah.
Cease, you mentioned liking a good bit. You have them ahead of Sale. They're basically the same price, basically the same ownership. I don't really love the matchup for Sale, but like he's been awesome this year. The K's have been awesome. The walks have been great. 31% strikeouts, 4% walks. He's kept the homers down as well, like a ton of ground balls. Sales looked awesome. The Sierra is well below his ERA, actually. His ERA is almost 3, 2.98. The Sierra is 2.57, which I'm pretty sure that is the best number on the slate. Yeah, like I just don't love the matchup there against New York, obviously.
I see Sale, correct. I was wondering, what are your thoughts on Grayson Rodriguez versus Houston? Like Houston's not, to me, like Chop would be able to speak on this more, but that lineup, it looks great. They don't strike out a ton, but I think it's more great on paper. I just think I should be bumping Grayson Rodriguez a little bit more than I'm currently getting him.
So Chop will jump in a second, and I'm curious to get his thoughts too. But my thoughts quickly are, you said like this is a play both sides. You can play the pitcher or the hitters. I think this is an avoid both sides, mostly. Just hopefully it's uneventful both ways. That's kind of where I'm at right now, where I think Grayson Rodriguez is going to be fine, but not necessary. And the Houston offense, you might get a homer out of Jordan or something like that, but just I don't think I want to pick on Grayson Rodriguez with whatever Houston's rolling out there. So I'm just hoping for a quiet game, basically all around. Chop, your thought.
I'd be a little bit more inclined to fade Grayson or be neutral if Kyle Tucker was back in the lineup, but it's still relatively weak. Although they're starting to piece some things together. With Jordan back now, and he's hitting well, so you got that part going. Then the bottom of the order is starting to fill out a little bit better now. Loperfito's in there tonight. He has a lot of potential. Trey Cabbage has some really good numbers in the minors, and they've been
speed and power.
Yeah, they've been trying to get a spot for him. Well, kind of things are opening up now. Dubon's not bad either with the contact, so it can be a tougher lineup. So, but I still like Grayson though. But it's the flip side of that game that you really gotta worry about, man. Right? Like that's the one. That might be the one that breaks the slate one way or another, Dean.
Yeah, Baltimore was sneaky yesterday. They're not going to be sneaky today at all, just because Houston's just like out of arms, right? Like they just the dude they called up today. I'm forgetting his name now off the top of my head for some reason. Jake Bloss. That's a good name. Hopefully he's good. And I think he's a bit of a prospect, like 10th or something in the organization, but he's 22, and I don't believe he's pitched beyond AA. His numbers from single A to AA, as far as K numbers, significantly dropped. Like it doesn't feel like he's ready. And, just because Houston is out of healthy players that can throw baseballs at this point, that's what's happening here, right, Chop? You probably can speak to Jake Bloss if you want to, but I think the Baltimore side looks really, really appealing because unfairly, they just got to throw him out there. And, he's not terrible. He's got some pedigree, but I don't think he's ready.
Yeah, he's so just like Paul Skeens was pitching in college last year, so was Jake Bloss. A year ago, he was in college. He got drafted 3rd round. Houston, I forget the general manager's name. He's slipping. He came from Atlanta, really good with the prospects, right? So he plucked him out. He liked him. He got expedited through the system because he was really good wherever he went over a year. And so now he's already going to pull the Paul Skeens and be in the majors. Doesn't strike a lot of guys out theoretically, but he's got pretty decent fastball. He's got a little bit of like Christian Javier kind of fastball, 93 to 95, but it kind of moves up in the zone a little bit. So he could get away with the minimal hard contact. He's working on a changeup. When he gets that, he's going to be really good, but it's not a polished pitch yet. His secondaries are okay. So he's young. 1 year out of college. He doesn't have Paul Skeens 100 miles an hour. Is he going to be able to last against Baltimore? Probably not. But it is the first time they've ever seen him. They probably don't got much tape on him or much of a scouting report. So maybe he sneaks up there on him, man. But so it's going to be interesting. I'll definitely be on the Baltimore side more than the Bloss side, but kind of wouldn't surprise me if he's okay. But it also wouldn't surprise me if he's just not ready for the moment and he gets run out of there pretty quick.
When a player hasn't seen a team before, Chop, does it break your BBP suggestion model, the algorithm? How does it handle that?
Well, it just doesn't spit out numbers. They've never seen him before, Dean. Like there's no record against him. But in fact, I will give you a spoiler today.
Oh boy.
For a 10-game slate, there is very, very little BVP activity. So
interesting. What was that?
It sounds like
or something?
Either producer Steve had something queued up, or else he just got busted with a Dean right there.
Bobby, you want to confess anything? Do we know what that was? Is that your child?
Nothing to do with me. I would imagine Chop went into the secret chat and probably got a DM from someone wasn't too good, and he opened it. Or
I don't know what that.
I don't know if it's. I don't think it's Dean.
My hands are up here. I don't know what that means, but maybe I can make noises in other ways. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. The chat apparently is saying DJ LeMahieu's got BBP. But he stinks now, and he also was played in Colorado 8 years ago. So
come on,
even if that meant anything, it's nonsense.
LeMahieu would never make the cutoff of the BVP model. The BVP algorithm is too smart for that. It's not going to.
Yeah,
we're well past his prime. No, we're not doing that.
I mean, Jose Abreu's got some good BVP against some players too, I'm sure. But it definitely didn't. You didn't spit that out this year because we knew he was such a disaster. Yeah, we got there yesterday with Baltimore, Brian. We almost got there. We couldn't get a base hit from Ryan O'Hearn off the catcher. I don't know if you guys, nobody was watching the game at that point, but I had 1% Ryan O'Hearn everywhere, and dude's got he had bases loaded in the top of the ninth, and scores 17-3 or something, and he grounds out or something. We couldn't get I just assume it's batting practice, bang out a homer, but it's tough because the guys start throwing the ball 50 miles per hour and it throws them off. Anyways, Chop, I didn't get your top pitchers. Work your way down here, right? We're talking about top to bottom. How you seeing the slate as far as pitchers? Do you have a lean when it comes to Sale versus Cease versus Rodon?
Yeah, I'm not messing too much with Chris Sale in New York. I'm sure he's all right. I'm sure he's going to be okay. But I don't. That's not my priority. Cease is okay. He's been a little bit off lately, so. Yeah, I don't know about that one. George Kirby, I like George Kirby in Miami in the ballpark, and against that lineup, he's not going to walk his way out of a game. He's going to throw strikes. He's pretty good at it. I don't mind Rodon, but I'm not playing him too much. I like Grayson probably as much as any of these other guys, and yeah, there's not a lot to like up top. But I think they all have question marks like that. There's nobody that I really gravitate to and say, man, that's my number one by far. I think they're all capable of doing well, but this is a classic, Dean, a classic slate of give me one decent pitcher in the top range and then let me find the best value I possibly can. I'm not even worried about raw projections. That second pitcher is going to be in the cheaper range so I can get some bats in there because I'm not paying up for two guys tonight.
Well, Chop, that's why I said before, I have in the same game. I got George Kirby, and, I think he's one of the better options up top. And I think Trevor Rogers, dollar for dollar, on FanDuel will be tough because it's hard to just miss on pitcher at FanDuel. You got to get something on the board, and it's certainly possible he can miss. But what do we really need out of Trevor Rogers to be okay with it? He can give us a 13, and I think that's fine. I think so. You can make up for it in bats. Chop, is that your favorite cheapie? Or you kind of alluded to it? Are you also on
probably
Rogers?
Not. I'll probably
do it for Washington.
I would say as far as Trevor Rogers, I'd be in the camp of classic scenario again, being classic where you can play this pitcher because of the price tag, but man, you can also take some other teams and stack against him in tournaments. No doubt about it. No, he's not my favorite cheap range pitcher. I think there's some question marks there. I do like Seattle as a stack, but price is good enough to play him. Cheap pitchers. Let me see what I've seen so far. Bobby mentioned Hers. I think there's potential there. He's obviously has strikeout stuff. We've seen that, but I do have some question marks here in Coors Field with his fly balls and fly ball rate, and that could get a little bit risky. I'll throw a real weird one out there for you, Dean. Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah,
Like,
that is weird.
Well, we're not talking about the stacks yet, but man, I am not high on the Dodgers here at all. So I think there's some underlying numbers that say Sandoval is better than what he's looked this year, or what the actual, outcomes have been, and he can strike some guys out. And so, yeah,
I'll say this: he's been really, really good against lefties. Small sample, 51 at bats, 31% strikeouts. They're not going to throw a ton against them, but Freeman and Ohtani, the two biggest bats probably in that lineup without bats. I don't really love them. Like, certainly for tournaments, you can always play them, but and the rest of the back end kind of stinks. So I think I see your thought process. I get it. It can happen, but yeah. Are you running a bunch of lineups tonight? We having fun or just doing one? How many rolling out today?
One on DraftKings and 150 on FanDuel.
Okay, so Sandoval could be in the FanDuel pool, but not DraftKings most likely.
No, he could be in the DraftKings pool. I haven't built the lineup out yet, so it depends on exactly how far down on the salary range I want to go. But he's certainly remaining in my player pool, and we'll see at the end. But in fact, he probably won't be in the FanDuel because you already said you can only play one pitcher, and you kind of got to nail that spot. And so even if I wanted to do 20%, of the guys, I could still only take 5 of these guys. He's not in the top 5. And on FanDuel, I feel like you really don't have to worry about the expense of your pitcher because there's so many cheap guys that I don't have to, like, there's no way Trevor Rogers sniffs FanDuel lineup, right? There's just no way. So it's because of the price tag and the price salary. So on FanDuel, we're looking at Cease, Rodriguez, Kirby, maybe Rodon a little bit, maybe Paddock and Crawford as the number 5 guys. So Sandoval and those other guys are well back. Even Chris Sale is probably, not that far up on the board on FanDuel. So probably no Sandoval on FanDuel, no.
Cease currently the most owned guy according to projections right now on FanDuel, 20%, 13% for Sale, 12% Rodon, 10% Kirby, 8% Paddock. Yeah, everybody else in the single digits. All right. Bobby, anybody we miss? Anybody we should stress here as far as pitchers? Anything that's changed as the show has progressed? Have you run the Sims? I know you're always running the Sims. What are the Sims saying? Have you run them yet? What are they telling you to do?
I haven't run them yet. I haven't run them yet. I can run them though.
All right. See if we can get.
So maybe you could help me out with Landon Knack. Or do we have interest with Landon Knack? Like the Angels haven't been great.
He's a righty throwing against the Angels. I don't think he's going to pitch a ton. Is the issue? I think his projected pitch count's about 80 or so. He just seems. Yeah. I want him to be cheaper. I guess is a sort of my thought. You have a take on Landon, Chop? I don't see any upside.
Yeah, I don't see. It seems to be a very probably below average strikeout guy that's going to give up a lot of fly balls. I don't know what the marine layer looks out in Los Angeles tonight, but he didn't. His ERA looks great. The numbers surrounding the ERA don't look so great. They look like it may be a little fluky. Small sample stuff. He's a young guy, but yeah, I don't think Landon Knack is very much on my radar. But I mean, it is the Angels against right-handers, like you said. They're pretty terrible, so you never know.
This may be out there a little bit, Dean. I have one more guy. So
yeah, go for it.
If Abrams sits, do we consider Hudson at 5K? Like, this is the kind of slate this is, right? So
his K rate and his walk rate are basically the same, which to me, it's just you can't. I can't do it. I don't care if you can't. That's a deal breaker for me. His strikeout rate is 12.8% and his walk rate's 11.1%. I can't do it. Even if he like we saw the other day with Michaelis, like where he's not getting his face punched in, but like he gets like 1 strikeout in 5 or 6 innings. Like that's best case scenario. We did see Kyle Hendricks strike out 8 somehow, which was a miracle. But Like these guys that have those K rates, like there's just no upside. I can't do that. I understand. I would just get away from Washington before, that's basically fading. You don't have to like play the other pitcher. Chop, you have a thought on that? There's no planet am I playing Dakota Hudson tonight.
This guy freaking Dean, you could step on the mound and strike out 12% of the batters you faced.
Can't do that.
You might only
we throw that around too much. That's no.
Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short, Dean. You could do it, man. This guy, I couldn't do it. There's 20 pitchers. He doesn't strike anybody out, and we're in Coors Field. And
there's 20 bad pitchers, though.
Yeah. What was that famous tweet? There was that tweet where somebody says, like, I can see myself hitting a 3-pointer. I can see myself hitting a home run. But, like, scoring a goal in hockey looks impossible. Do you guys agree with that? What's the hardest thing to do in sports? They say, like, round ball, round bat, hitting a baseball, like squaring it up. But, I have very little hockey experience in my life. So that looks really hard. Speaking of Panthers, enough. What are we doing? Can we knock it out tonight?
It's stressing me. I'm hoping Edmonton wins tonight.
You're sweating it now, Dean. You're sweating it.
It was cute. All right. Let Edmonton get a gentleman sweep. Give them a victory. Let's win it at home. Sure. Why not? Let's let the home fans see it. All 6 of us. But now we're getting nervous and like, oh yeah, that's right. Connor McDavid's the greatest hockey player ever.
McJesus is hot. McJesus is hot. Now you're in trouble, Dean.
I'm not happy.
This is why like every time like people chalk up I know nobody's ever come back from 3-0 in basketball and stuff, but like if you're rooting for that team, I don't think you ever feel that way. Like you're only one win away from something weird, like the narrative's changing, just like when Boston lost game 4, it was like, oh, do they have an answer now? And but if you go to Boston though and you win a game, now it's game 6 in Dallas and we could be looking at games. It always changes the narrative so much, just one win. And in this one, the narratives have changed. You're facing the best player in the world, and now you got to go to Edmonton, and there could legit be. You don't want to be now. What would you rather do, Dean? Would you rather just not make the finals, or would you rather be a team that blew a 3-0 lead in the finals, but you made the finals?
No, you make the finals. No, it's the stupid thing.
You want to go down in history as a team that blew a 3-0 lead? Boy, that's history right there.
Do you want to be one of those dopes that like quotes like Michael Jordan 6-0? Like, what about the other times? Like those years didn't count because you didn't make the finals. Making the finals is still like. Otherwise, then you think only one team had a good year and everybody else is a bunch of failures. That's the way you look at things.
It's kind of how it is.
That's not true, though.
Kind of. Speaking of which, Dean.
Yeah.
How about them damn Thunder? They got Alex Caruso, man. That's a big time. That's a big time. Is Chicago's
Bulls are dopes. They're complete dopes.
Are they just on automation like Robin Hood? Are they like just a computer running the whole thing?
Well, the other thing is like OKC is hoarding. They've been hoarding draft picks. They have like 97 draft picks the next 4 years. You didn't think to ask for one? Like, let me get one of those draft picks. Never came up in the negotiations. Like, hey, throw in a couple of those. You got like 7. Yeah, can you give us a couple? Never bothered to ask. We'll just take Josh Giddey, who you didn't want anyway. They didn't want Giddey. It was clear and obvious last year. They were trying to dump him, and they got Caruso, like somebody that's very, very useful, assuming he stays healthy in the playoffs. Very odd. Like I don't watch First Take and all that, but I bet you First Take led with JJ Redick. But the bigger basketball story was Caruso going to OKC yesterday. Much bigger. All right. We're derailing the show. My apologies. But go Panthers is the point of the year. We did the Panthers one tonight. I did have some hedge bets where I bet Edmonton down 3-0 just for fun. And like worst case scenario, at least cash, some Edmonton tickets, but we're not really rooting for those to cash in. All right. Bobby, thoughts as far as pitching? Any final thoughts here before we move on and talk about some hitters?
No, I think at the high salary range, I really like Dylan Cease. I think he's the guy. Kirby's also a very good play. I think Trevor Rogers is going to be the guy that I'm going to spend down for. He's going to be probably my highest owned pitcher on the slate. And that's pretty much like the main 3 that I'm kind of circulating around currently.
Chop, what do you want to add there as far as tonight's pitching slate? We'll talk a little bit of stacks in a second.
No, it's some decent arms at the top. I don't think anybody blows me away at the top. But there's several decent arms that could all be pretty good. And then I'm going to try to dip down in the salary range and get an SP2. And it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. But sometimes that's, like who's the – I don't want to say his name, but somebody once said it's not about like trying to build out the lineup that's going to score the most points. It's about trying to beat others. It's about trying to build a lineup that can beat others. And you got to make yourself uncomfortable if you're going to do that. It'd be pretty easy just to go in here and try to force in Cease and Kirby or Cease and Sale. Got to get a little uncomfortable, Dean, and that might mean one of these weird guys in the lower salary at pitcher.
Well, you don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun everybody else running away from the bear. Is that what you're going with?
No, not even close.
It's like some sort of animal.
No, that's not even. No. It's literally about DFS. You don't have to be. You don't build a lineup to score the most points because that's impossible. To just build a lineup that has the best chance of winning a tournament, and that means you got to get uncomfortable. That means you got to play lower owned guys and guys who nobody else in weird combinations.
By the way,
can I throw a wrench in this argument? You do have to score the most points to win the tournament, correct?
But you don't. But the guy's case was that nobody can predict the points ahead of time. You can't. Okay. There's no point like if I could optimize it right now, sure.
I got the Magic 8-Ball. I got Mr. Predictor.
But I can look at the board and we can see, especially nowadays, we can see who everybody's gonna play. Like these things are pretty accurate, especially when you put them all together. So you can see who they're going to play and who they're not going to play, and that's who you can get on. But I digress, Dean. That was back in the day before we had, all these good projections.
TJ's in chat defending the trade for the Bulls. But I mean, the point is they could have got more. Did they ask anybody else that they could have got at least a pick out of it?
Yes, yes. Caruso was a very, very, very sought after commodity, Dean. I can't believe it. I mean, maybe they scouted Giddey and they really like him that much. In his defense, he's still only a 21-year-old, like 6'7" point guard, but boy, was he exposed in the playoffs. But to answer your original question, yes, there was a lot of good offers for Caruso on the table, Dean. I can guarantee you that. I know of some from the Rockets who possessed some really good picks that wanted Caruso pretty bad, and they declined them all.
Yeah, and Chicago has a terrible track record. Is that the first trade Chicago's made like in 4 years? I feel like they've not been a trade in forever. That's like the first one they've clocked in on. And yeesh. Oh boy. Kirkwood saying Oilers are his 12-unit play. I don't know if I like that or don't like that. I think that's good for my Panthers. I want Kirkwood to name 3 Oilers. Can he name 3 Oilers without Googling? What do you guys think?
Earl Campbell, David, Dan Pastorini,
Warren Moon, Curtis Duncan.
Warren Moon. Yeah,
Edmonton Oilers. I should have been specific.
I don't know. After some say he just ran bad last night on 6-unit play. It was a bad umpiring job, but so maybe Kirkwood's really on fire here. We don't know, Dean.
Yeah, he can name McDavid. He probably can name Draisaitl, and that's probably it. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong as far as Kirkwood's hockey knowledge. Okay. Let's talk about stacks in a second. Today's stack category, we were kind of bouncing around an idea. We sort of went away from it. We didn't fully commit. So I came up with one on the fly, boys. We have stats that matter in baseball is our category. Stats that matter in baseball. I want the chat to tell me what's the most important stat and what's the least important stat. Stats that matter in baseball. Do you have one off the top of your head, Bobby? What matters when it comes to stats and what doesn't matter when it comes to stats?
I'm a big ISO WOBA guy, so those would probably be my top 2 for hitting.
Is there a dumb stat? Is there like a worthless stat that's it's kind of silly that we, for whatever reason, talk about, or it's even counted, but I guess you're going to do it?
Not BVP. Not BVP. I know you want me to say BVP, but not BVP, Dean.
I'm just realizing I forgot to put BVP in there. That was my mistake. But I was saying BVP number 1. That's a user error. Bad job by me. By putting BVP, leaving it off the board. Chop, you have an answer here?
As to what? My favorite or least favorite stats?
Give me both.
I like all the percentage stuff, the K percent, and XFIP is good, and I saw that mentioned. And all the expected stats are pretty awesome. What is pretty useless? Triples. I mean, we're going to count them, but those are just weird and obscene. They don't really matter for anything. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want what you got for me?
Well, let's go ahead and throw the board up. Some of them were said in chats. I probably didn't do the best job on this. We're being honest about it. I put ISO number one. I considered WAR as well. I probably should have considered WAR. Did not put that on the board. ISO, it's a great metric for power, and that's also what we talk about at DFS. ISO is just slugging minus batting average, right? Just it tells you if the person gets hits, when they get hits. Are they doubles? Are they triples? Are they homers? The triples are kind of wonky, but the doubles and the homers certainly mean something. Winning on base average, for sure, that means something. Wins, having the will to win or not having the will to win, it's stupid, it's dumb. If I could have put it lower, I would have, but I was just saying that wins, one-loss record doesn't really tell me anything. If there's a pitcher you say this pitcher is 7-2, this pitcher is 3-7, which pitcher's better? Your answer is, I don't know. I need more information. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. It's nonsense. If somebody said 1-40, maybe okay, maybe there's an issue. There's probably some correlation, but one loss typically is stupid. Batting average is dumb. Singles are so much different than doubles. Doubles are so much better than singles. My friend of 15 years ago hasn't watched baseball in 15 years. It's like, oh man, this Arise guy, he's awesome. No, he's not. He's not awesome. All he does is hit singles. He's terrible in the field. He's terrible on the bases. You don't want the players to just hit singles. Like good for Stephen Kwan. I know Roth was talking about him yesterday. And of course, the dumbest stat that we acknowledge because it has good marketing, very good marketing, cool name, but completely meaningless. It means you had a good game and good for you, but the cycle is just really, really silly. I saw people in chat talking about the cycle as well. TJ is criticizing the way I'm doing tiers. Next time, TJ, you're on the show, I yield. You can make your own tiers. Yes, Quan has been amazing this year.
I think it's a good criticism, TJ, just throwing it out there.
Which is what?
Your way of doing tiers. I don't think it's the greatest.
I don't think you understand when we have the team in the fifth tier it has the label of being stinky, not good, bad. So you shouldn't put something good in the stinky tier. I feel like we've explained this before. Have we not? Have we not gone through this?
We've talked about it.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit disappointed, Dean, that we turned the reins over to you to do the board today.
Yeah.
And this is what you come up with is like
what's your issue?
It's just a mundane category. Like there's not this is boring. This is a boring category, to be honest. Like we had
relative to the conversation.
We had the Bobby Gomes board. It was working. We could have done it.
But Bobby clearly didn't want it. He wasn't interested.
I didn't say I didn't want it. I just said I didn't care.
Yeah, I don't want him to not care. Either care or don't care. But
we care. We could have done the board for him. That's the whole point. We could have
then it's uncomfortable. Maybe he doesn't. He might have some regrets.
He likes it. Bobby don't care.
No, I was fine with it. I should have been more. I get how he took it both ways, but the other way, I honestly
I didn't want to force it on you. If you didn't want it, like why we?
I was fine with it. I wasn't against it.
Yeah,
we could have done the Danny McBride board from last week that we didn't get to, that we bailed out on.
You walked away. We didn't finish it.
No, we could have brought it back today. But this is like plain Jello. This is like making some Jello. This board's like making Jello out of straight up water. Like there's no flavor to this board, man. But anyway, all right, we'll get through it. We'll power through it.
All right. We'll go ahead and put the teams in the categories. We flip the coin backstage. Chop, you go first. First game on the board is Atlanta versus the Yankees. That's a 7:05 start. Carlos Rodon taking on Chris Sale. Chris Sale, one of the more popular pitchers on the slate. Rodon as well, which is pretty interesting, right? Because it's two of the better offenses. Well, specifically the Yankees. Atlanta kind of falling off a little bit, but two offenses, historically we do like to play, but it's more about the pitchers, it seems. 7.5 total here, Chop. Jumping the gun here. 7.5 total, and producer Steve's throwing them all the way up in WOBA. Confirm or deny? Where do you want to put these teams?
Yeah, I have them both listed in the wins category. I'm just pretty neutral on them. They're good offenses, obviously, and they're in a good hitting environment. But the pitchers are pretty good too. Do I really want to attack these pitchers? These two guys, and then when we get into the bullpens, assuming that it's relatively close, you're going to get the good part of each bullpen, which are pretty good bullpens, especially the Yankees. So stacking them all the way up, I'm pretty neutral on them. Great offenses, bad matchups. So I'm going completely middle of the line here, middle of the road.
What do you got, Bobby? Any issues?
Going Atlanta and Woba. I think that would be my difference. I think the Yankees can stay in wins. I really like Adam Duvall. He's been absolutely terrible. He's going to be my home run call tonight. But yeah, Matt Olson. Rodon hasn't been great versus lefties. I think Olson, Albies are in play. Always Ozuna. Kelnick's going to hit some of my teams, but it's just because he's leading off and Sean Murphy's there. So I'm going to go Woba for Atlanta.
I am going to side. I only come in here when I got to break a tie. My tie breaking, I'm going to yield. I'm going to bend the knee to Bobby. I'm going to give Bobby the call here. I do agree with you. Rodon will give up some fly balls. And, Atlanta, despite the lineup being a little bit weakened, it's going to be hot there as well in New York, too. So I have Atlanta ahead of New York. We'll see how that turns out. Next game is Boston. You've kind of hinted this one. Boston, Cincinnati, 9 total. Andrew Abbott taking on Cutter Crawford. We do know lefties against. It's interesting we didn't talk about Andrew Abbott because
that's what I was thinking too. We didn't hit on Abbott. I think Abbott's very much in play. I guess it's because of the heat more. Yeah.
Well, it's because he's in play because he's facing Boston and he's a left-hander in Boston. I'm pulling up the lineup now on the fly to kind of walk it back, but yeah, 26.5% collectively as far as striking out, and you got Dahlbeck in there, who still is rocking. What is Bobby Dahlbeck's ISO versus lefties this season? Come on now, we know what it is.
It's low, I would imagine 0. Yeah,
it's a Blutarski. Yeah, it's 0.
We should have talked more Abbott. I think I'm bumping Abbott for sure. The one thing I would. He isn't. What's Abbott's strikeout rate? Is he K'ing guys up? I don't feel like
that's the problem.
That's the issue,
why we
right?
didn't talk about him. 18%. That's why we didn't talk about him.
And I feel like Boston struggle with lefties that are more power pitchers. I don't know. I'm still playing. We should be getting to Abbott here.
Tyler O'Neill, by the way, 426 ISO, 515 WOBA. That is monster numbers. The sample's not huge, but he's been crazy, and it feels. He might be the best individual hitter on the slate. That's not sneaking up on anybody. He's also 3K on FanDuel, I believe, which is really goofy. Continue, Bobby.
Yeah, I think you can put both Boston and Cincy in the ISO category. I like them both. Good ballpark. Ooh. Yeah, maybe I'm a little hot on both of them, but I don't know. I think they're both very strong. I like the back end of Cincy. I like Will Benson a good bit tonight. Just like all these lefties versus Cutter Crawford. I think lefties have been an issue for Crawford. So you can pretty much play Candelario. You can play who else was there? Obviously, De La Cruz. Like there's a bunch of guys Fraley's there. Friedel. I think they're all in play. On the Boston side, I think Romy Gonzalez is a value play. Don't mind him. Devers is great play. Tyler O'Neill is probably the best home run bet on the slate. So yeah, I like both sides of this game.
Pretty sure Gonzalez is a big pinch hit risk. I'm checking to see what the bat says. Trying to pull it up here on the fly, but I'm fairly certain there's some risk there for what it's worth. But you put them both in WOBA, is that correct? That's where Steve has them right now.
I think WOBA's fine. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I misheard you. I apologize.
I said ISO originally, but I'd go WOBA.
That's what I thought I heard. Okay. Yeah. By the way, Boston's going to be pretty popular to teams on DK just because their prices, they're really cheap. Dahlbeck is hitting so many optimals, which is like optimals in baseball, but like he's a guy that you can save some salary on, throw him in the outfield or first if you'd like. Any issues here, Chop, as far as Cincy and Boston, or shall we move on?
I think I'm not going to make any kind of argument about it. I had them almost both like that in that, I had it just a little bit different, but not enough. I would say this about Boston. If you haven't been paying attention, I know some of the numbers don't look good overall this season, but man, they have been swinging the bat very well lately. So I think that counts for something. And then, you have a pitcher that doesn't strike guys out, that gives up fly balls, and you've already said multiple times that it's hot out there. So it does seem like a good recipe. 96 is what we're seeing as far as the temperature. And again, this is where I don't want to say Weather Edge is lying, and Roth can speak to this, I'm sure.
but it's only 16 games, and in 16 games, a decrease in homers to 23%. But I would lean on the 96 temperature as opposed to the 16 game sample. But Roth would speak better to that. Let's move on. Mariners, Marlins, 7.5 total. We've talked about Trevor Rogers as a possible cheapie, but he's been a disaster. George Kirby, I would be surprised if he has more than one walk tonight. Best umpire in the business behind him, and a 2% walk rate in the season, something really, really goofy low. What is his walk rate? 2.6% walk rate, 24% as far as the K's facing a bad Marlins team. Chop, what do you got? Seattle and the Marlins, where are we ranking them?
Well, Miami's definitely in the 5th tier of the cycle there. They stink, and Kirby's pretty good. So, and I think Kirby, I had to check his game log real quick. Did he have some? He had 2 walks last outing against Texas. So he's about to regress to the mean, and I doubt he walks anybody tonight, right? That's not normal. So, and then on the flip side, so I get the point on Trevor Rogers, the salary, and I think, yeah, you could roster Trevor Rogers, but I also like the Seattle stack against him. I have Seattle in the second category, WOBA. Rogers doesn't strike guys out, walks guys, so that's not a good combination. And Seattle has some guys in that lineup that have some power, so I kind of like the Seattle stack a little bit. If I'm not playing Rogers, I can play the Seattle stack.
Being asked in chat, what site do I use for extreme hitting and pitching umpires? I use RotoGrinders, RotoGrinders.com. It's right there in Lineup HQ. I'm not sure if they get them from the bat or if RG has them. I'm not really sure where they get them from, to be honest. But maybe they get them from the bat. But yeah, and also I always note this at the start of a series, Fridays, brand new series. Sometimes the umpires will switch on us before the series starts. So you want to refresh if you care about the umpire stuff. It might change. Once the series is established, they just rotate so you know where they're going the next day. We probably got some new ones. Let me see if some new ones have come in. As I throw this to Bobby, your thoughts as far as Seattle and the Marlins? Confirm, deny, we good with Chop? Are we moving on or what?
I'm fine with Seattle. I agree with Trop with Seattle and Woba. I definitely am playing Trevor Rogers, but this is how the slate is. You can play both sides. This is what baseball is, baseball DFS in general. So, yeah, Seattle and Woba I think is fine. Dylan Moore, Julio Rodriguez. Dylan Moore been on fire. For the Marlins, I just bumped them up to batting average. I like some of the one-offs there. Jazz, De La Cruz, Sanchez. I think there's some good one-offs. Kirby can give up a long ball occasionally, so batting average would be the Marlins.
Dylan Moore, 215 ISO versus lefties this year, 77 plate appearances, 314 WOBA as well. He'll strike out a fair bit. He'll also take a walk, but yeah, it's odd they bury him sometime in that lineup. But yeah, he's batting in the 2-hole today. I do like Moore. If I'm not going to have a Rogers lineup, I'm okay going there. By the way, you've got more umpire stuff, but still just one game that has an extreme umpire. That will be the aforementioned Seattle and Marlin game. Bill Miller, extreme pitcher. No umpire just yet established for the Dodgers. Okay, Bobby, next game. Toronto and Cleveland, 8.5 total. Carlos Carrasco versus Yariel Rodriguez. I kind of like Toronto today. Famous last words, and I don't mind Cleveland. I think this is the sneaky game. I don't know if it's going to be ignored or not. The ballpark's not as exciting as Cincinnati and Boston, just the hitting environment. But it's fine. You tell me, where are you at as far as Toronto and Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm getting overweight on Cleveland, so I'll put them up in WOBA. Last time we were on here, we had so many guys in the wins, and people were chirping us a little bit. I like Cleveland. Stephen Kwan's on fire. Jose Ramirez, Naylor. I think these guys are all fine. Will Brennan had a crazy day yesterday. I like Cleveland a good bit. Toronto, you could put in wins. I just think they're, and I say this, I think that you can, from a projection standpoint, they could be in wins. I'm going to put them in batting average just because we have to add in the gutless rankings, and they're very gutless. Which, does this bring Carrasco into play at all for us, or
not for me? I haven't played Carrasco since 1972. Give or take. No, I'm not playing Carrasco. Chop, you playing Carrasco?
Nope.
Looks like it's a verbal no. Toronto's got to scrape out at least a couple runs off him, I suppose. But that lineup's not great. They're cheap. Some of those pieces are pretty cheap. Vlad keeps dropping on FanDuel.
Varsho for sure is a good play.
Yeah, I like Varsho. Turner and Pitton in the 2-hole seems a little odd, but Toronto's trying to make stuff happen. There's no Bichette. Just that lineup as a whole. Springer has been a disaster. Chop, jump in here. We got Toronto all the way down in batting average, and Cleveland hanging out in WOBA. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So there's some discrepancies here. I have Toronto up in the WOBA tier. It's just Carlos Carrasco, man. The numbers just aren't good, period. So I think I can take a shot at stacking against him on any slate, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But, he's not going to strike guys out anymore. Gives up enough hard contact. And also, Dean, I'm going Cleveland in the ISO. I don't know how many. I think, I've got it. Yeah, I got Cleveland up in the ISO. I'll tell you why, Dean. Here's what I'm thinking. First of all, the matchup is fine, against a young pitcher here. It's a pretty good lineup. I don't know if you knew this, Dean, but you mentioned the park was not a great park.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. Did you know, Dean, that before the season started, they removed some signage from the ballpark that was blocking some of the wind. And since they removed the signage, it's created wind tunnels, and there's more runs being scored in Cleveland's park this year. So just a little note for you.
They couldn't sell any ad space? Why would they remove they're taking revenue away? That seems weird. That was an odd decision.
Maybe they moved it. Maybe they changed it to a different spot, but they got it. They removed it from where it was, and removing it created some pretty decent wind tunnels in that stadium, and they're scoring more runs this year there. So, yeah, I like Cleveland. I think it's somebody's got to hit that ISO category tonight, and Cleveland's going to be my first team to do it.
Is this Martinez's first start for Toronto? Is this his first start ever in the majors? 22 years old, second biggest prospect in the Toronto organization, 71 overall according to FanGraphs. He's got a 60 raw power on FanGraphs as well. So is he in the pool? Is he like 2K? He might be interesting. Yeah, he's the tricky part is he's a shortstop, and shortstop is loaded, and there's a big opportunity cost. But if you want to flat out punt shortstop, he's 2K on DK. So that could be useful.
Very much so, Dean. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good call.
Okay, so we are moving. I think Steve moved Cleveland up to WOBA, and they both got moved up, I think, where I would have moved them. So we should move on. I think, they both got bumped up basically to a compromise. Chop, you're up next. Next game is KC in Texas, 7.5 total. Eovaldi versus Brady Singer. Where are you at?
Let me see here. I've got Texas in the third category, which is wins. I've got Texas in the wins, and I've got KC in the wins category. Eovaldi just came off of a bad outing, so he can obviously be had, and KC has a pretty decent offense. I don't mind that. So I got him right there. I'm kind of neutral. I'm in Texas. Brady Singer, I don't think he's anything special. Kind of a run-of-the-mill pitcher, and Texas's offense hasn't hit its stride yet, but I'm pretty neutral on them too. So I just took the easy way out, put them both in the middle.
Chop, I know you're talking about Patrick Sandoval. No Will Smith in that Dodger lineup.
Oh,
too.
Don't spoil it, Dean. We're gonna get to that game soon enough. Let's just talk about this one now. Let's not spoil it, Dean.
Well, the news just came out that Will Smith's not in the lineup.
But it's not like the NBA news where we got to rush to redo our lineups.
Change everything.
No, we can let that marinate for a minute, and then when we get to it, we can go, and we just got the lineup.
All right,
I agree with Chop on this one. I side with Chop.
So backload the news. Don't give it like 20 minutes after it actually happens. All right, fair enough. Bobby, where do you have where are you ranking? Was it Kansas City and Texas? Are you with Chop as far as right in the middle wins?
I want to put them both in WOBA. I like KC and Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like KC and Texas. I could see one of these two offenses being on the winner tonight. Like MJ Melendez a good bit. Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt, Perez. I think they're good for KC. And then on the Texas side, Seager, Adolis, who's been terrible, but I think he gets off the schneid tonight, hits a bomb. Wyatt Langford, Jonah Heim. I think these guys are all in play. Josh Smith's been hot. Yeah, I like this game. I think this game is the one that's you might see one of these stacks on the winner. So I'll put them both in WOA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to tell you can't play Bobby Witt. He's super expensive, obviously. To me, this game is where Chop has him, right in the middle. Like, it wouldn't shock me, but I'm not really expecting a ton of fireworks here. Probably somebody has a big game. I just don't see myself full stacking here. I would note that once again, Adolis Garcia is still just 4K on DK, which seems too cheap in theory. I know he hasn't been spectacular, but just, what he's been historically, that does seem too cheap. Bobby, you're up next. Grayson Rodriguez versus Jake Bloss. 4.5 total for Baltimore, just a little bit less of a 4 total for Houston. G-Rod is a minus 154 favorite. Where do you have Baltimore and the Astros?
Baltimore is going to go in ISO for me, and Houston's going to be in wins. I just think the Baltimore guys, Gunnar Henderson's been on fire. Rushman, Santander. I like the back end. Mullins, I think, is very good. Mountcastle, he's more in the middle, but yeah, I really like Baltimore. On the Houston side, I would put Houston in batting average. Like, I don't love Houston tonight. I think there's one-offs, definitely. But like, the guy who's profiling the best for me for Houston outside of Jordan is Bregman, and I don't know. They're just the one-offs for me. I'll put Houston in batting average. I'm not going to go wins for Houston.
Noted lefty master James McCann in the lineup against the righty Jake Bloss, but also Rushman, both catchers in there for Baltimore. Chop, are you going to take that, the besmirching of your Astros, Baltimore all the way up by themselves, and ISO, Houston hanging out in batting average? Agree, disagree?
No, I'm not gonna disagree with two. I mean, where I would put them was I actually had Houston in the cycle.
Ooh.
We're talking about stacks here, right? We're stacking. Like, I just want Jordan. That's not a stack. That's the one guy. And Grayson Rodriguez just rarely goes out there and gets beat up to a pulp to where your stack paid off in the, first 3 or 4 innings. So I don't really want to stack them. So I have them really low on the totem pole. Baltimore, like, they're legit potential to go off for the highest runs tonight and be double digits and all that. So I had them in WOBA just because you don't know about the new pitcher. This is not a guy with no pedigree coming in here, out of AA with no experience. He may get lit up, absolutely, but there's a chance. There's a greater than 1% chance that he's actually a very quality, talented pitcher, and he catches them off guard. Because, Dean, I don't know if you're a big fan of Narrative Street and all that kind of stuff, but Baltimore, this has got to be kind of a letdown spot for him on the road, coming in from New York after a monster series in the AL East. I don't know. Maybe
Fighting
not.
with the Yankees, yeah.
Yeah, so you just never know about all that.
But Houston, is a championship team. There's a lot of championship players on that team.
Nah, not this
At one
year.
point.
I think
I'm not saying this year, but yeah.
Yeah, but so that's just where I would have them. But because there's a lot of uncertainty with Bloss, and he may actually be good. So I don't know.
Speaking of Narrative Street, I'm told in chat apparently Bobby Witt, it's a hometown game, which I guess makes sense because I think didn't his dad pitch for the Rangers? I think he had a mustache. I remember that. I don't remember where he played. Could have been the Rangers. Could have been was he a Royal also? I think it was mostly a Ranger. Somebody Google that. We got to pick up the pace here, boys. Washington, Colorado. No Washington lineup just yet. Probably because they're waiting on CJ Abrams. 11 total. Washington is close to a 6 total against Dakota Hudson, who's just does not strike anybody out, walks too many guys. This Washington lineup's not spectacular, whatever it is. Even it does have Abrams. Chop, what do you have as far as the Nats and the Rockies?
Man, yeah. So I don't know. I'm way off on this one probably, but I definitely have the Nats. Even though the lineup does look weak, it's really weak without Abrams if that happens. But I still got to put Washington up in ISO because Dakota Hudson, I mean, what is he going to do to you? He's not going to strike you out. He's going to give you plenty of opportunities to put the ball in play in Coors Field. We're in June now. Like, that's not a good combination. So I'm going to put Washington up there. And I'm going to put
Chop, can I interrupt you? I know you like to delay the news.
Abrams
we just got a Washington lineup. Yeah. Should I mention that in 10 minutes or so? Abrams is in.
You should have let me finish my sentence, and then I was going to circle back to it. Abrams is in, And
no Ruiz.
That means I like Washington even more now. So I'm definitely got him in ISO. And then for Colorado, so this is where we might disagree here. There's going to be a lot of love for Hurst after that 13 strikeout game, but I got Colorado in that second tier of WOBA. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Like the guy gives up a lot of fly balls, and we're in Coors Field and we're in the summertime with the weather, and that thing could be flying out of there. So there's a lot of who's going to stack the Rockies. I think they're going to get kind of lost, even though it's Coors Field. I think
expensive.
Okay, that's even better. So they will get lost in the mix, and Vegas is telling us something here. The guy comes off a 13 strikeout game, but yet the team total is well over 5 for Colorado. I kind of like Colorado a little bit there.
All right, Bobby, jump in here. What do you got?
I'm going to bend the knee to chop. Washington and ISO, and I love the Colorado Rockies call in WOBA.
Did I miss something? I thought Baltimore was an ISO. Were they moved on me at the last second? Did I not catch that? Were they not in the ISO category?
I don't think you
didn't make.
I don't think you gave the tiebreaker.
You're not paying attention. You didn't break like 4 ties.
Too worried about breaking news. You ain't even paying attention to the show, brother.
You're shuffling them on me sometimes. It throws me off. My apologies. Put Baltimore back up in ISO. Minnesota and Oakland, Chris Paddock versus Estes. What do you got, Bobby?
I'm gonna go Padres in WOBA, and what did you say?
I said Minnesota and Oakland, but you know what?
Oh, Minnesota. And I thought you said. I thought it was San Diego. I thought you said. All right, I'll go Minnesota in ISO. I like Minnesota tonight. Lines moving towards the Twinkies. I'll put them in ISO. In Oakland, I'll put in batting average.
Chop, I like
tonight.
I'm not that far off.
I'm not
that far off of that. I had them both one level below where they are now. Oakland, I don't want against Paddock, against a right-hander who doesn't walk guys in that ballpark. I'm going to pass on Oakland. And Minnesota, I had them in WOBA, but I could live with ISO. I think that they're in a really good spot against Estes tonight. I mean, he's not particularly good.
So, like when Chop says that, do I rule now? Because Chop's like kind of he's hedging, and
I'm saying you don't have to rule. I'm saying I like where Bobby had him. Basically, I'm not about to. There's certain hills you have to pick and choose to die on, Dean, and this is not one of them.
All right, I just think I don't want Minnesota close to my Baltimore. I just think they could see they're on the same level. It's insulting to the Orioles. We got 2 more games. We have crunch time coming in very shortly, so we got to be quick here, boys. Chop, Milwaukee, San Diego.
Goodness. Let's let Bobby take this one. I want that last game.
He wanted to rank San Diego earlier, yeah.
Yeah, let's let Bobby take this one.
I like the Padres a good bit tonight. Cronenworth, I think, is going to hit a bomb. Profiles really well. I like Profar. I like Machado, Tatis. I'll go WOBA for them. Maybe we should switch the Twins because to the Twins in San Diego. Let's put San Diego in ISO and put the Twins in WOBA.
I'll reiterate the same stance. I don't want San Diego stench next to my Orioles, but fair enough. That's your call. Chop?
Yeah, I obviously had San Diego a little bit lower than that. But whatever you feel, Dean, I'm going to let you break the tie. I had them a
What's
little bit
the tie?
lower.
You got to take a stand and then I'll figure out something in the middle sometimes.
Milwaukee against Cease I had down there in batting average, and Colin Ray versus San Diego. San Diego I had in wins, but I could see it any or.
I just think it's wild the board we have because the offenses are not great today as a collective. There's only 1 or 2 teams that have a total above 5, and we only have 4 teams below the midway point, which is just weird to me. Just as an overall observation, I feel like we're a little bit too ambitious when it comes to offenses, but it also says it's a spread out day. You absolutely
the weather's picking up, Dean. The weather's picking up. It's getting hot out. The board's going to change, and people were complaining the last show that we had too many teams in wins. You gotta. We can't
please the people is what we've learned. Let's bump San Diego down though. Move San Diego down to WOBA. Chop, I know you want to rank the last game. Dodgers, Angels, Ohtani, Teoscar batting second, which is different.
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman, Pajes in cleanup, Rojas, Vargas, Kike Enrique Hernandez, Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes. That is not the best iteration of the Dodgers you've seen this season.
Yeah, the Angels for me, I'm gonna put him in the 4th category, batting average. And I just, I don't know. Angels against right-handers, I typically don't want to stack. So even though Knack has some things that I think can be things that are going to regress at some point, I don't think it's tonight. The Dodgers, I have in batting average also. I think that's a fraudulent team total on those guys. The Dodgers have, I think, 3 really good hitters, and one of them is not playing tonight. That's Will Smith. At least 2 guys. And one of them is Shohei at the top of the order. And by the way, Dean, I don't agree with Shohei being at the top of the order. You only get 4 at-bats. That's a quarter of your at-bats. 1 at-bat, he's going to come up guaranteed with nobody on base. I don't like that. Give me a rise. I know you don't like a rise, but give me somebody right before it, Tony, who can get on base. I want him coming up with 1 or 2 guys on base. Now, every time he bats in this game, let's take a look at who the guys are before him, Dean. Who's coming up?
Chris Taylor, who's got like a 7 ISO this year. No, not
exactly.
7 WRC plus.
Yeah, all these guys who we're trusting Kiki Hernandez and Chris Taylor. I don't even know who's in the lineup. I didn't refresh the page. But we're trusting these guys to get on right before Ohtani. Every at bat now, this entire game, I hate it. Let's get some guys. He's your one guy in there who can do damage. Let's get some guys on base. But so I don't like the Dodgers. I don't like this lineup. I don't like them sitting Will Smith. I'm going way down here on them.
I disagree with your Ohtani take, by the way. Play your best hitters and get the most at bats for him.
No, that's another fraudulent take right there, Dean.
That's a fraudulent take.
Yes.
Like you want to see.
So you think the game is going to be
out?
So it's just going to be like the game is just going to magically end with him either getting that last at bat or not. That's such a it's so far fetched that's going to matter. I think it matters more to have guys up in front of him that actually get on base and not have him come up with the bases empty. I think it matters more.
It just reminds me of Mike Trout batting third with the worst players in baseball striking out in front of him to end the game.
But these guys have put Freddie Freeman ahead of him. Freddie Freeman can get on base. If you want to do
that, whatever, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. But he's one of their better hitters. Anyway, Chop, we need your knockers and we need your BBP suggestion of the day. I know Crunch Time is here. They're coming in just a second.
We're good. They're not on a time limit. But the BVP, Dean, I set it up for you. There was no BVP today. It's just not enough. No. I mean, there's some guys that were in a 2nd tier or a 3rd tier play. I can't give that out on the air.
What does the algorithm say? Just check back tomorrow? That's sorry?
The algorithm says this is a tier 1 player or this is a tier 2 player or this is similar to the way we rank the boards here. I'm not giving out a tier 2 player as the BVP suggestion of the day. So I don't put my reputation on that, Dean. So I'm out on that one. Now, as to the knockers, low-hanging fruit. Yeah, I'm going to go with it, Dean. I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit here. Ryan O'Horn, Anthony Santander, 3-5 in the order. That's what I'm rocking with.
Ryan O'Horn.
Tony Santander and O'Horn.
Yeah, Ryan O'Horn.
Did not have those guys on my list.
Santander. He's from France, man. From France. He's French. That's how they pronounce it. Nobody knows that.
Did Bobby have a thought on the Angels, the Dodgers quickly? The Battle of Los Angeles, the Rage Against the Machines series?
Put Dodgers in wins and Angels in where Chop had them.
All right. Let's bring in Crunch Time. We've had enough time with shenanigans. Crunch Time coming in. We got Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. We have SDL Cards, the human computer, chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. I'm giving a refresh as far as the weather. I think nothing too dicey. Roth will let us know. Crunch Time. Here they come. Happy Friday, y'all. Apologies to everybody. Roth, apologies. You guys are in the green room for far too long. How rude of us.
It was Chop. Chop literally said, I don't care. Those guys, they're not on a time.
Well, I mean, you're going to end the show at a certain time anyway. We're just kind of eating up into your time, which is good. That's less words you have to speak.
I got to say, since we had to sit and listen to the banter for a couple extra minutes, and everybody's giving Chop grief about the Ohtani take and pronouncing the Baltimore players guys wrong. I totally agree with Chop's take on the way the Dodgers have set up their lineup. It just doesn't make sense to me with, so you got Ohtani leading off. so he's not going to have anybody on base in the first inning. And then in future innings, when they wrap the lineup around, you're going to have Chris Taylor and Barnes hitting in front of him, who are collectively, a 150 on base percentage. I hate the Dodgers.
That's the problem.
now.
Get rid of those guys. Just kick him off the team and replace him with competent hitters. That's the issue.
I mean, once you get the 5 through 9 in that lineup, like I don't know. I mean, the Angels could beat them tonight.
All right. Does Roth or Dave, you have a take on this? I'm curious.
I have a take. It's not exactly related, but Horn sounds like a guy who's going to hit for the cycle for sure.
Well, what team is he playing? I was trying to hit him in the player pool. I got nothing. It's just all the names.
On that topic, I would flip Freeman and Ohtani and just leave it at that.
Bam, that's exactly what I like. That's you get a guy on base, just a guy who has
Freeman gets on base more than
Yeah.
Ohtani. Freeman is like one of the best on base guys ever, really.
Is he stealing this year? He had like 16 or 20 stolen bases last year. I kind of sort of out of nowhere. Is that still happening? Or is that
he's down to, he's got 3 this year. That 20 was a weird, awesome fluke last year, but he could steal them if he wanted to.
Roth, happy Friday. But Dave, is this the day? I've had enough. The Panthers have been jerking him around enough. It was cute.
I would be nervous. I would be nervous.
Especially nervous.
Yeah. I think the nervous is warranted. I'm not sure, honestly. I do think they're going to win. I do, but I think you should be a little nervous.
All right. What's up, Roth?
Not much. I want to know what idiot isn't excited about the cycle. The cycle should be at the top. There's nothing more exciting than hitting for the cycle. You got to be a dummy to think that.
I know. Are you just poking a button? Is that what you're doing? You're just poking a button, right? It is the dumbest, biggest big cycle. It's good marketing. It sounds like fun. Like, what did you do today? I hit for the cycle. Oh, wow. That sounds interesting. Tell me more. You got a single, a double, a triple, and a home run all in the same game. You know what's better than that? 3 homers and a strikeout. That's better, but there's no name for that. I guess triple dong, but that's not marketed because triple dong, there's no big triple dong. There's no marketing campaign. There's no dollars for that. But for some reason,
if we were going to market it, we probably wouldn't market it triple dong, just to be clear.
Yeah, that is fair. You like the cycle because you're a weather guy. That now I just realized why it appeals to you.
I just think it's fun. I think it's cool. I think it's exciting. And if someone is like 3/4 of the way there, I get pumped. I don't want another home run. I want the triple or the double or whatever it is. I think it's fun. Like legitimately, it's useless, but it's fun.
What if somebody needs a single for the cycle and they hit a ball into the gap and stop at first base?
I approve.
The worst.
Dean would
take him out of the game.
Dean would just disintegrate up there in the.
I love it.
Now, sometimes what will happen is they need a double or a triple. They try to like extend. Like typically they would stop at first or second.
Yeah.
And then like it's like, okay, now all of a sudden you're going to show effort because you can get a cycle. Yeah. All right. I'm out. You got the cycle rant out of me. There you go. Myself, Bobby, and Chop, we do appreciate y'all watching the first portion. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Don't go anywhere because we got 45 minutes. Wait, is that correct? How many minutes?
He's all flustered.
40. It's 40 minutes until first pitch. Plenty of time. You guys got Dave Potts. You got Kevin Roth. You got STL cards. Enjoy your weekend. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. 2 of the OGs in the industry here hanging out with us. Going to take you up 2 lock. We're going to take you through lock. And we're going to do all the things that we normally do, which is give you everything you need. We got Dave Potts. Cheese is good in the house. What up, Cheese?
Not much. It's a pretty glorious slate, really. There's just it's a big, huge, tangled mess. And sometimes that's fun.
And it's one of those slates where like the good hitting teams are against the better pitchers and the worst hitting teams are against the worst pitchers. Is that generally accurate?
For the most part, with just a few exceptions. Yeah.
Yeah. That does always make it kind of interesting. Gives you a lot of different ways you could go. We got STL Cards in the house as well. Cards, how are you?
Yeah, good. First show back after our trip to St. Louis. So happy to be back in the routine of the day-to-day here. So yeah, it's an interesting slate tonight. I don't like it quite as much as Cheese does, but it's certainly not without talking points.
Did you get any wins while you were there in St. Louis? Did you get to see the squad put up a dub?
Yeah, so we went to 5 games. They went 3-2, so that was
you can't argue with that.
That's passable, and we also got to see Paul Skeens. So that was one of the games they lost, but that was fun.
Almost
and,
beat him too. That was a great game.
Yeah, it was a scoreless game into the ninth. So it was fun. We went to an MLS game as well. Checked out the new soccer stadium there in St. Louis. Got a flat tire on the way to the water park, which was a great time. So yeah, it was a fun week.
Very nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Glad that you're back, and glad that you're here with us to break down this slate. I do have to talk weather real quick. The main thing I want to talk about is New York. Do we want pitchers in New York first and foremost? Cheese, do we have pitcher interest there?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
They're definitely in the tournament mix, both of them.
It is just going to be wildly close in New York. There's this line of storms moving that way, and all morning it looked like the storms are going to be really close, and then the afternoon looks really close, and now they're just, I think they hold just north, but it's very, very close, and I can't promise you that we won't get a delay. And if we did, it would be pretty early. This would be a fairly early delay. So I can't tell you that pitchers are safe in New York. I think it probably works out. I'm not saying you have to get rid of your pitchers there, but if you want the no risk route, if you don't want to deal with it, literally anywhere else, any other game other than Colorado, I guess you're fine pitching wise. Card is no grimace. Didn't get that grimace streak going on. By the way, hit us with a few more likes. We have 50 more votes than likes, which is just absolutely asinine. But as far as weather goes, New York chance for a delay, Colorado chance for a delay. Hitters should be fine in both games, and that's all I've got. That work for you, Cheese?
That works. Like the pitchers, both pitchers in the New York game are like just sort of in the big tangle mix of tournament plays. Neither of them would be cash game plays for me anyway. There actually is a pitcher in the Rockies game too. Like the Washington pitcher is one of the cheap guys that people are playing. So, but same thing there. Like you're not saying definitely a delay.
Oh, I'm definitely not saying definitely a delay. As confusing as that is, I would say even less concerned about a delay in Colorado. It just always seems like forecast models show the storms moving in, and then they always fall apart before they get there. I think there's just some model bias happening there. So anyways, that's where I've got. Travis was just saying, hey, did you say no pitchers in Colorado? No, as long as you're not putting all your eggs in that basket and you realize there's at least a chance of a delay, then you can stick with it. I think the delay odds are relatively low, but they do exist. With that, we got to get into the content. It's a big old slate. We got a lot going on. I want someone to talk to me about the pitchers, and Cheese, you can lead us off, and then Cards, I want your thoughts as well. By the way, Luis Campusano has been scratched. I don't know if that changes anything. Cheese.
He's the Padres catcher. I do have some Padres stacks. If you have Padres stacks, he might be in there, but this is not a life-changing event.
Okay, good to know. All right, walk me through the pitchers.
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is this is one of those you could play about a dozen guys, and if your order of them was totally different than mine, I think you're fine. Like you don't have to do but I like this guy better than that guy. Great, play that guy. Like they're all pretty close and all pretty good. I think Kirby and Cease is the ideal cash game combo, and there are a lot of value bats, even though there's spend up bats. Like I don't think you have to spend up everywhere, and there's some really good cheap bats. So I would lean Cease Kirby. At the high end, I think you could also squeeze Chris Paddock in there if you can't quite get up to Cease. I would not play DJ Hers in cash games. I think he's a very interesting tournament play.
Phenomenal name, though.
Yeah,
great name.
Yeah, better name than Trevor Rogers. But Trevor Rogers is cheaper. I would not play Trevor Rogers in cash either. But to me, those are the two cheap guys that I have a lot of interest in, with a little bit of Joey Estes. And then as far as the other expensive guys, like Chris Sale, Carlos Rodon, Nathan Eovaldi, and Cutter Crawford are all just sort of hanging around my pool in a bunch of lineups. I'm just kind of mixing and matching. But I am definitely heaviest on Cease and Kirby by a pretty wide margin. I don't have any Grayson Rodriguez or Andrew Abbott or Brady Singer. If you did, I think that's fine, but they all missed the cut for me. And it's the pricing is about the same between the sites. So it's the same pool on FanDuel, Kirby and Cease, or save money down to Rogers or Hers.
Maybe I missed it. I didn't hear Rodon. Where was he in that mix?
He's in that big mix of Sale, Rodon, Eovaldi, Cutter Crawford.
Gotcha.
Like,
Okay.
they're all fine.
Okay. Very good. Cards, how do you see the pitching on the slate? What's your plan of attack as you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have a lot of different ways you can go, and it's probably not the wrong answer, as long as you're taking somebody that has you're not taking the Carrasco or somebody like that that's projected for about 9 or 10 points on DK. But you look at, let's see, I've got our projections up now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 pitchers projected between like 15 and 19 fantasy points on DraftKings. So the margins are super thin in terms of projections tonight. I'm probably out on Rodon if the weather is a concern. He's not a guy I'd like to risk it with. I think he's fine if you want to chance it, and maybe if the ownership dips because of the weather concern in New York. But I'm probably out on him. I just think there's enough other options that tonight's not the night you need to force it on a larger slate. So, I mean, the same, I guess, would apply to Sale, though I have a little more interest there. He's got a 7.5 strikeout prop at basically around even money. And, again, if people start to shy away there, the Sale would be the guy in that game that I'd be more interested in if the weather holds off. If it doesn't, I mean, right now I probably wouldn't play either in cash. I would agree with Cheese's assessment that I think you can go with Cease and Kirby. Kirby's super safe tonight. I mean, the Marlins, their offense is dreadful. And Kirby throws a ton of strikes. He's not going to beat himself. He's probably the safest pitcher on the board. Maybe not the highest ceiling guy, but I think he gets there with innings tonight. I'm out on Hers. I'm out on Paddock. Paddock has had a lot of really good outings. He's had some really bad ones, but he's faced the Mariners. He's faced the A's. He's faced the White Sox. He's faced the Rockies. He's had quite a few cupcake matchups in there. Not that Oakland is obviously they're grouped in with that bunch, but they've got some power. I don't think Paddock's cheap enough, to where has the type of game that absolutely kills you. So I'm out on Paddock, especially if he ends up being relatively chalky. I'd prefer Crawford. And the one guy that I'm maybe interested in that didn't make Cheese's pool tonight is Andrew Abbott, whose strikeout numbers have been way down. He struggles with power. There's a ton of downside risk with him. His strikeout prop is 5.5 at -102, which is higher than pretty much everybody else in this range. The odds makers still seem to think that strikeout stuff is going to come back. I might give him a sprinkle too if I'm building, say 25 plus lineups tonight as an SP2 on DraftKings. Probably not messing with it on FanDuel. And I agree that I think Trevor Rogers could be in the punt conversation as well. Again, another probably DK SP2 play because he's only $5,400, and we know how much the Mariners strike out.
Okay, 2 names that I'm seeing in chat that I do not think were brought up, Ray and Landon Knack. Do you have either of those gents in your pool, or any thoughts on them cards?
So who was the first one? Was it Grayson Rodriguez?
Raya? No,
Colin Ray.
Ray.
Yeah, not going there. I haven't played him all year. Not going to start tonight. His strikeout prop's 3.5. There's just no reason to play him. Landon Knack, I mean, maybe there's some ceiling there. He'd be if you had to pick between the two, he'd be the guy, but I am officially not playing either.
Okay. And then Cheese did get a question. FanDuel cash, only one pitcher there. You mentioned 2 that were kind of like maybe the more reliable guys. If there's one pitcher on
Kirby in that one. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. With that, let's flip it over. Let's talk some of the stacks and cards. You can lead us off. I'm curious as to where we're going on this slate because it seems to be fairly spread.
Yeah, I mean, we can just, if we got a little behind here, we can just use the play whoever you want soundbite, and then we're good.
Please have it ready. Please give us the blender.
There you go. I mean, that's a perfect. It's just a perfect snippet for tonight because a lot of the good offenses are against the good pitchers. The bad offenses against bad pitchers. You've got Coors Field in there. And that's probably where I would start. The Nationals have a team total close to 6, and CJ Abrams is in the lineup tonight. That dropped just a few minutes before we came on the air. So I do like Washington against Hudson. Hudson's a ground ball guy, but he doesn't strike anybody out. Rockies bullpen is horrible, rivaled basically only by the White Sox. So if they can get Hudson out of there early, I mean, I think Washington has some ceiling here. The Rockies on the other side, I mean, Hers had a great start his last time out, but his minor league track record wasn't that great. I think we can attribute a lot of that success in his last start to the fact that he was facing the Marlins. So I like both sides of the Coors game tonight. I'm out on the Dodgers. I mean, for those that mentioned or heard us when we first came on, I just don't like that lineup. I mean, they're facing a competent enough pitcher. You get past those top three guys, and then it's just, I mean, it's a below average lineup after that right now with no Will Smith in there today and with Mookie on the DL. So no interest in the Dodgers as a stack for me tonight. I think it's Washington, it's Colorado, and Baltimore as kind of a clear top three. Baltimore scored 100 runs against the Yankees yesterday. They're facing an unproven guy for Houston tonight. Beyond that, I mean, it's all secondary stuff. Maybe would throw Cincinnati or Boston in there as, you know, kind of a deeper GPP stack. But Washington, Colorado, Baltimore, that's my main three.
Cheese, is that your same main three? And do you agree you can hit the blender?
Play wherever you want.
A little delay, but it's still good.
Yes, it's better when you have to wait for it.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Washington and Baltimore are probably the top of everyone's board. And then I think like the Rockies, so both DJ Hers as a pitcher and the Rockies as a team have the widest range of outcomes of anything on this slate. Like we have no idea if DJ Hers is good or terrible or somewhere in between. Like he could be amazing or terrible. We just don't know. And the Rockies are kind of the same. Like they do have a lot of power and they strike out a lot. So I'm throwing darts at both sides of that. The teams that I'm playing a lot of, that like I'm not going to tell you they're the best plays. I'm just going to tell you it's who I'm playing the most of, is the Blue Jays, the Guardians, and the Padres.
That's it. That was a fairly simple.
I like the Padres call too. I didn't mention them, but I like that call.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff, guys. Let's go around the horn, position by position. Cheese, you can start us off with a little catcher talk, please.
Catcher got pretty wonky in the last few minutes with Will Smith out and Keibert Ruiz out. It's fine. Like you would play Rutschman in an Orioles stack, but like other than that, like there's not even anything to spend up on. I don't think you would even play William Contreras unless you have a 150 lineup. So basically, like I think Connor Wong is probably the cash game play because you need to save every few dollars you can. Although you could play Drew Millis now. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but he's the Nationals catcher for 2,700. So I think that's fine too. My favorite plays overall are Danny Jansen, Logan O'Hoppe, and Hunter Goodman.
Okay. Cards. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just say that it's to play whoever you want.
Yeah, there's we're gonna see how many over under we can get on the blender comments tonight. Not a whole lot else at that position. I mean, it's not glamorous, obviously, with the backups in there in a few spots. Another name I think that you could put on the GPP radar is Logan O'Hoppe. Hasn't gotten a lot of attention because he plays for the Angels, and the Angels are horrendous, but he's pretty good. Got a lively bat. He's been hitting in the middle of that order. Again, I think the Angels can give the Dodgers a game here tonight. Not that I'm running out of my way to stack them, but O'Hoppe in kind of that mid-range I think is fine at catcher. Sean Murphy, if you're not on Rodon in GPPs, I think is fine. Otherwise, I think Cheese pretty much hit all the primary guys.
Okay, Cards, going to first base. Is it more like singular where there's one dude, or would you say it's more of a position where you could?
Yeah, I mean, it's you could potentially play whoever you want here at first.
Play whoever you want.
I mean,
we got to get
right
quicker.
now. Right now,
we got to get at least 12 of these in. We gotta get to them. All right. Sorry, Cards.
No, you're fine. Right now, I mean, we're showing ownership kind of all over the place here. If I have our projections on DraftKings up, and we have Vlad as the highest owned first baseman, and I mean, the bat has obviously not the bat as in Derek Carty's the bat, but Vladimir Guerrero's bat. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of life there, a lot of red in that game log. And we've got Bobby Dahl back there as well, who I'm never super thrilled about rostering. So first base is kind of weak tonight. I think if you're playing Ohtani on DraftKings, you're definitely playing him at first. I don't love Ohtani either for all the reasons I've already described. So, I mean, it's just a position that I don't love tonight. I'm probably living in the mid-range with somebody like Nathaniel Lowe or Ryan O'Hearn. I think those guys are perfectly fine. Save you a little bit of money over Vlad. Mountcastle for the Orioles is fine as well. If you're playing O'Hearn in the outfield, or if you have a Baltimore stack, you want to play both of them. Arias for the Padres. It's never fun to click his name as a low upside kind of no power guy, but fits in the Padres stacks pretty well.
Okay. Geez, first base.
I didn't hear Cards mention Ryan O'Hearn, who's also a solid play in your Orioles stacks there. So if our ownership is correct on Josh Naylor, it would be fair to say I will be more overweight on him compared to the field than any player in the history of me playing DFS, which is decades. So he's my favorite play, kind of by a lot. And he'll definitely be sneaky-ish. I don't think he'll be 1% owned, but single digits probably. So he's my top play. I do like the Orioles guys. You can go way down on DraftKings tonight. You can play Bobby Dahlbeck here. You can play Tyler Soderstrom here. I do have a pretty good amount of those two where I need to save money, like to get to those Kirby Cease lineups. Mm-hmm. If I'm not playing Naylor or an Orioles guy, I'm pretty much going down to those guys.
Okay, just not a lot of opportunity cost if you go down, essentially.
Yeah, like Cards mentioned, it's not a super strong position. It's okay, but it's not like I don't feel like you're missing any have to have kind of things.
Okay, great. How about second base, Cheese?
Second base is glorious, and that does not even include the expensive guys. Like I'm not even really putting Albies and Semien in the pool, but so right around 4,000 on DraftKings and around 3,000 on FanDuel. You've got Davis Schneider is my favorite. Cronenworth is second. Jimenez is third. Dylan Moore is fourth. We got Louis Garcia, Willie Castro. It's a ton of really good stuff at a very affordable price point, like across the board. So I'm just living in that price range everywhere.
Okay. Cards, you going cheapish here as well?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, the path here is kind of trending tonight to where you can spend at shortstop and outfield, which I think is, where most people are going to want to save up some premium salary to spend on. So totally agree on not needing to go complete top dollar here, and also on Schneider being the top guy. Pretty much the one guy for Toronto that has been, a consistent bat all season. Their lineup has really disappointed, but Schneider's been the one guy that's it's kind of been hitting pretty consistently. So I like him. A Cronenworth call, I like that as well. Again, we both kind of like San Diego a little bit against a low strikeout guy. And they, if you want to ride the momentum for the Padres, they have been struggling for a couple weeks. They did get a walk-off homer from Cronenworth last night against the Brewers. So certainly doesn't help or doesn't hurt the confidence level going into today. Jordan Westberg, another guy that I think you could play at second if you wanted to, though he's a little expensive for my taste, but he'd be fine in the Baltimore stacks as well.
Okay. How about third base? Cheap there as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is. I mean, third base, we've kind of talked all year. First and third used to be the strong hitting positions, and now, shortstop's kind of taken that over. Royce Lewis has been great. I'm not going to tell you can't play Royce Lewis, but he's priced through the roof now for obvious reasons. And I think, he could be a super contrarian one-off. Right now, we've only got him at 6% owned. But if you look at all those high-end first basemen tonight, Machado, Riley, Devers, Royce Lewis, Jose Ramirez, all of them well into the single digits in terms of ownership, because, people are going to be playing Justin Turner. He's really cheap. Addison Barger's in the Toronto lineup. He's like min salary. He's third base and outfield on DraftKings. Ryan McMahon, even lefty on lefty in Coors. Kike Hernandez will be a value guy. I don't love the Dodgers. I think there's pinch hit risk later in that game for those guys. But, going cheaper here, I think, is what most people are going to do. But those high-end spends, like a Royce Lewis, like a Manny Machado, are really interesting in tournament builds tonight.
Okay. Cheese, every time I see stats, I feel like Royce Lewis is always hitting a bomb. Is that he just always hit bombs? Is that what he does?
Yeah, like his per plate appearance, like home runs per plate appearance, is like in the top 2 or 3 of all time. It's like Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Royce Lewis, or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, like you're not making that up.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems like he's always hitting a home run.
Yeah.
Well, there was like a
name.
3-week stretch last year where he hit like 4 grand slams.
Yeah, I just Googled his name and an article popped up, and it says Royce Lewis is making history almost every time he swings the bat. So okay, maybe I'm not crazy.
So to me, both he and Jose Ramirez are both pretty fantastic. Spend up to be different at third. I really like both of them. And Cards mentioned most of the names that are on my list for cheaper stuff. It's all kind of fine. But when I look at sort of the differences in positions, like I would much rather spend up at third than at first or second or catcher so far. So that's kind of where I'm looking to go up because it is off the board.
Yeah. Okay. Just learning he's got 9 bombs out of 15 games played. Wow. That's a pretty good rate right there.
15. That was a 1-5 games played. And he's got 9 bombs.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna hold here for a moment of clarity. That would put him third on the Cardinals in home runs for the season. So
they've played 16 games, 17 something. So it's not that far out of whack.
Yikes, Cards. All right. I think we're to shortstop, Cheese.
So shortstop is absolutely fascinating. It was fascinating before we got minimum salary Orelvis Martinez, who is a really good power prospect for the Blue Jays. And now I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I do because I had to make my lineups then and come over here. But I'm actually playing more of that guy than the spend ups, which feels ridiculous because the position is awesome. We got Abrams in Coors. We got Gunnar Henderson against a guy who should still be in Double-A. We got Witt, Ellie. We got Seager, Tovar at home. Like, I love all of those guys. I really do. And I'm still playing a fair amount of Gunnar and Witt. But I think this 2K guy should be like 4. So I'm playing him.
Interesting. And is this every position you're mostly spending down so far? Am I correct? Other than pitcher?
except for third, pitcher and third.
Yeah. Okay. Cards, what are you doing at short?
Yeah, so I mean, Cheese hit on the issue. For me, it's just too much opportunity cost to play the min salary guy unless you are loading up at pitcher or 3 expensive outfielders. Right? We basically talked about you could take a value guy at all the positions we've discussed already. And I just know that one of these expensive dudes is going to have, a 2-homer or a 4-hit night or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, the odds of Gunnar and Seager and Abrams in Coors Field and Tovar, I mean, and Ellie, all those guys, being a relative dud for their salary tonight is pretty low. And the guy we had as chalk before as a value was Romy Gonzalez. I definitely wouldn't play him now, just because, he's hitting second. There's pinch hit risk there. If you're going cheap, go with Martinez. I just don't feel comfortable doing that because I think there's more opportunity cost at this position, significantly more than at some of the other positions we've talked about tonight. So this is a position where I want to prioritize spending on the aforementioned 5 or 6 top end guys. If you're going cheap, you're going with Martinez, and that's basically the shortstop position tonight.
Okay. And then you also talked about some spend ups in the outfield that you love. So walk me through your plans there.
Yeah, I'll let you go to Cheese first because my dog is barking at something at the moment. So I'm going to mute for a second.
Fair enough. Cheese, your thoughts in the outfield?
The very best players, like your Judge, your Alvarez, even Ohtani to some extent, like don't have fantastic matchups. But that just means kind of like the third base thing. Like, yeah, I want Aaron Judge at no ownership. Sure. I do prefer, like everybody, Tyler O'Neill, especially on FanDuel where he's 3K. I think that's definitely chalk. And he's probably going to be pretty popular on DK too. I have a lot of Tatis. All the Baltimore guys are very reasonably priced. I like Santander a lot. I have a lot of Varsho. Cedric Mullins, any of the Washington guys. Like Lane Thomas is a little pricey, but like Rosario and Winker are very reasonably priced, and I like them. So basically, like I'm not spending all the way up, like to a bunch of Ohtani, and I have a couple of Judge just because I want to, but it's more like a Tatis or an Alvarez or an O'Neill, like one guy in the kind of like 5K range on DK, and then a couple of more like mid 4K guys. All the Rockies are quite playable as well. There's plenty of cheap stuff, but I do prefer all that cheap stuff we talked about in the infield. Depending on what you consider cheap, I like JJ Bleday, Adam Duvall, Jackson Merrill. There's plenty of stuff that's cheap-ish. Rodriguez for the Guardians. But for the most part, like that 4K range and the sort of low 3K range on FanDuel is pretty loaded.
Okay. Cards, what do you do in the outfield?
Yeah, most of the same guys are perfectly fine. I think O'Neill will be the priority spend for a lot of people. Some of those names that Cheese mentioned, really good tournament plays. The Tatis, the Alvarez. I'll add a couple more in there. I think Julio Rodriguez is an intriguing tournament option tonight. Basically, I've just gotten to ignoring the Mariners most of the time, but against the lefty, they've got let's see, their implied team totals tonight is about 4.5. So I don't mind J-Rod as a one-off play. I'm not stacking Seattle. Teoscar Hernandez would be the one Dodgers outfield bat that I'm fine with at his salary. I suppose Pajes you could throw in there as well, but as I've mentioned a million times, I'm underweight on the Dodgers. The middle tier guys like Jackson Merrill, Santander. I think TJ Friedl leading off is another one of those kind of mid-range plays that you could consider. So most of my lineups, one spend up and two mid-range guys, or two spend ups and one mid-range guy, depending on the build. One of my favorite GPP guys is Nolan Jones. Not a lot of people are going to click him lefty on lefty. Just got back from a rehab assignment earlier this week. But if hers isn't in there super deep into the game, there is only one lefty for Washington in the bullpen. So we know Jones has a lot of power, and it's Coors, and we've got him at like 5-6% ownership right now. So he's my GPP kind of flag plant there.
Very good. Okay, guys, the people want some home run calls. That's what they're clamoring for. Keep in mind, you can pull a blender. You can pick whoever you want.
Play whoever you want.
I think we're up to 5. On the show. These are good numbers. Cheese, you want to give me a few names? Maybe, chalky, less chalky, wherever you're at?
Yeah. Not even chalky. We'll go expensive, mid, and cheap. Josh Naylor. And then we'll go double Oakland, JJ Bleday, and Tyler Soderstrom.
Very good. Cards, your thoughts?
Oh, wow. The Oakland guys came at me as a surprise there. Not that I don't like them. I just wasn't expecting them. So
I was just trying to keep you on your toes there, Cards.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I'm going to go with Nolan Jones because I just mentioned him, and I think he's super interesting. Because we brought him up, I think it's probably destiny for Royce Lewis to hit a bomb. So we got Royce Lewis on the high end, Nolan Jones in the mid-range, and I will go with Jackson Merrill as a cheaper guy tonight.
Okay. Just looking at radar in New York again, it's just insanely close. I do not have the answer. I think they probably avoid a delay or the delay is not imminent. I'll tell you that. It's not going to happen in the next 15 minutes. But if you want the safe play, you can avoid pitchers there. I think it probably works out okay, but there's certainly some risk outside of that. I don't think there's anything we really need to worry about. What are we going to do? Let's take some QQs. Get your questions in. You can drop them in the RG Discord. That's where I'm going to go first. And then you can also pop them in the YouTube, which, by the way, the show is free on YouTube. And all that we ask is that you hit us with a thumbs up and maybe consider signing up for RotoGrinders Premium. Never been a better time to do it. 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price $469.99. That is a savings of 250 bones as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RG Premium for $40 off for a limited time. And if you want a test run Just a little bit, dip your toes in the water, check things out. A 3-day pass is $19.99. Check the links in the description for more info. $19.99 for 3 days of RotoGrinders Premium. You can't beat that with a stick. Let's see what we got. Jumping in the Discord here. DKGPP, Cheese, Friedel or Fraley in a Cincy stack?
Give me Friedel.
Okay. You got me. Cards, is DJ Hers fixing to get funnel caked, or is he worth the risk for the upside?
No, I'm on Team Colorado Bats tonight.
All right. So you think he's fixing to get funnel caked is the answer.
Correct.
Tell us, Cards.
Say it, Cards.
Oh, play whoever you want.
Play whatever you want.
There you go. Someone said Big Kev. Oh, Kev Dog. Boodley says, Kev Dog, does that Cincy game look amazing for bats? I see nothing but high temps, winds blown out, and maybe a cirrus cloud or two. It is very hot. Temperature is going to be mid-90s. Humidity is up. Winds are basically dead quiet, like a 1 mile per hour wind because high pressure is right on top of them. But yes,
I think this is one of those, like, I think I'm not the only one who looked at Weather Edge and is stunned to see the red for homers. It's a 16-game sample, so not super high. Maybe there have been great pitchers in that game, but like, it looks like it should be good homer weather. Let's just eyeballing it, right?
Yeah, I would think.
But
I didn't even
like
look at Weather Edge.
It's minus
assumed
23 at 23% to the negative for homers, which just seems like
that
it doesn't make sense. I would want to like go back and look at the games and see if they were all like Pedro Martinez pitching or something.
Right. Yeah. A bunch of ace pitchers or something. Weird things can happen in, smaller slates, smaller sample sizes. And I assume that's what it is. Let's see. We've got about 7 minutes until lock. FanDuel GPP cards. I'm stacking the Orioles with Gunnar and Santander as staples in my stack. Who would you pick out of Mountcastle, Rutschman, and O'Hearn?
He doesn't say whether he only wants one of those or if he wants two of those.
So it's FanDuel GPP. I think you can only play 4,
Probably.
right?
Yeah, so he probably wants 2 of those.
Yeah.
Out of what was it? What were those 3 options again?
Mountcastle, Rutschdog, and O'Hearn, or O'Horn, as he's now been renamed.
Yeah, I'd probably play O'Hearn and Mountcastle. Wouldn't play Rutschman on FanDuel if you don't need to catch him.
Okay, great. Cheese, do you like Kirby in a FanDuel GPP?
I do. I like. He's more of the cash game standout and just kind of like one of the guys in GPP. Like I would play Cease ahead of him if you can, but it's very close. And yes, I do like him.
Okay. Cheese, who would be your first 4 O's in, salary not considered, debating the last spot between O'Hearn and Westberg?
Yeah, it's basically the same question that Cars just had. It's like you're really not going wrong. Like there's definitely not a best answer. I think Westberg gets you a little different, given that the Orioles are going to be popular. So I would say Westberg for that reason.
Okay. Someone said any update on the rain in New York? Just gave one like 2 minutes ago. It's going to be really close. I still lean that they somehow managed to play without the delay, but it's we're talking, miles. What do we got here? Geez, these are the same questions. I can't get around Mountcastle and O'Hearn. Let's go to Brendan Cars. Winker, Rami Gonzalez, or Thomas and Martinez. This is DK Cash. So Winker, Gonzalez, or Lane Thomas and Martinez, DK Cash.
I'd go with the second one.
Very good. Jerry says FanDuel Cash first. Stallings, Mountcastle, or Cronenworth? Cards, I'll give that one to you. It was, I lost what it was.
Stallings, Mountcastle, or Cronenworth?
That's what I was going to say, but I didn't even know if those were real people. Yeah.
They are, but Stallings in that conversation is a little bit confusing to me. But I like Cronenworth tonight.
Okay, great. Mr. Richard says, Cheese, my highest owned stack in DK MME is Boston. Am I crazy? Am I nuts? Am I a freaking lunatic?
No, I think a lot of people are going to be playing Boston. They're generally terrible against lefties, but like it's the lineup is set up pretty well with like the cheap bats mixed in with O'Neill and Wong. So definitely not crazy. No.
Monty says, curious what Cheese and Cards thought is a reasonable percentage to cut Rodon out of a large field GPP based on Ross projection in New York weather. I would just like if you had, I'll answer first. let's say you had 10%, go to 5 or 6% of him. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't quite have it. That's what I would do. Cheese, Cards, any other thoughts?
I don't have any. Cheese was more interested in Rodon generally than me, so that's probably a better question for him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have much, but yeah, I would cut a little bit because it's not like I liked him better than anybody else. So if you add a little bit of risk to someone you don't like better than anyone else, then yeah, I would cut it, roughly in half.
Okay, great. Cards, we got to this one earlier. Kid Kobe says, cheap pitchers, Hers or Ray on FanDuel? Hers or Ray on FanDuel?
Yeah, I don't. Or was that for Cheese or me? Sorry,
it was you. Cards.
Okay. I mean, I don't have either. Hers would be my first choice, but like I'm on the Colorado bats. Colin Ray is not an option on FanDuel at all. Period. There's just no reason. Hers at least gives you maybe some sniff at a ceiling, but I don't love either.
Yeah. Okay. J3 says, can you ask Cards what's up with his boy Corey Connors? What's up with your boy Corey Connors, Cards?
I mean, he's not playing super well. It's not like he's in 34th out of 70, so he's basically middle of the pack. I mean, it's not like he's the chalk guy that everyone is hating this week is Russell Henley, who was the most popular golfer in the field, and he's 4th from last. So, you can squawk about Henley more than Connors, but yeah, not the best week of golf.
I didn't even realize we had switched sports there.
Somebody asked.
I was trying to figure out who he was. I was starting to Google like who is Corey Connors. I'm starting to figure it out.
Let's see. J Sam says, Cheese, do you have any Trevor Rogers on FanDuel to get different with O's bats and some Cleveland bats?
I do have a little bit. Like he's the guy that I think you can play on FanDuel if you just want to load up.
Okay. Beaner said, sorry, I lost connection. Can I play Kirby on a FanDuel GPP? You kind of said, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, wow. Great question coming soon. Great question coming soon from Snowfighter. DK GPP, Cheese, Adley Barger or Wong Candelario?
I like Adley Barger there.
Card Caesar Sale.
Yeah, it's pretty close. With Sale at least having some weather risk, I would just take that out of the equation and play Cease if you're deciding between the two.
That seems fair. Do you need Duvall Cards in your Atlanta stack?
Need him? No. I mean, I think he's a really strong play if you're stacking Atlanta because of his price and his, splits. But I mean, he's hitting 7th, so need him? No. Would he make my first Atlanta stack? Probably yes.
Okay. Cheese Brewer stack. I don't really like the Padres. Thank you.
The Brewers are probably dead last on my list, with the caveat that every single team is on my list. Like they're not that much different than everyone in the bottom sort of 6. They're always playable, but I don't really officially like them.
Okay. That seems fair. With that, we hit lock and we get to close things out on a fantastic food question from Snowfighter, who I think is also Paul. By the way, hit us with the thumbs up. Your favorite flavor chicken wings. You're at a place, you're getting chicken wings, you're getting maybe 15 chicken wings. Cheese, what flavor are you going?
I've reached the stage of life where I got to be judicious with my spicy. So I'm going to say teriyaki. Okay.
Teriyaki is a good wing. Cards.
Yeah.
Where are you
so
going?
I cannot do hot anything. I will fully admit I'm the biggest wimp on the planet when it comes to hot anything. Anything like mild, too hot. I cannot do hot. It's too hot. Like you give me like a mild chicken wing and it will make like the corners of my eyes start tearing up. I'm fine. I admit it. I've gotten over it.
I love those people. I love when that happens. I think that's fantastic.
I can't do hot.
Cards, we're going out for wings next time we're in the same place for sure.
She's just going to have me crying and then in the bathroom for about 5 hours afterwards. So yeah, I mean, lemon pepper is my kind of go-to because I can't do anything hot.
Sure. Okay. I like to get hot and honey barbecue. I want both sauces. I want your like sweet and I want your hot, and I want you to mix it all in. That way I get that sweet heat every bite.
So you're saying you put both sauces on the same wing?
Both sauces, same wing.
Even if you're into like the hot, you can tolerate the hot. is it not a problem? Because that's like all you can taste is the hot. You can't even taste the chicken. It's just, I'm eating burning stuff.
You don't want to go too hot. Yeah. If you go too hot, that's what happens. But just the hot, not like nuclear, not crazy, just hot with the sweetness of a honey barbecue is pretty money. All right. Hey, with that, we're going to bounce on out of here. So for Cheese and for Cards and for Blender,
Play wherever you want.
our wonderful production crew, really working hard behind the scenes, especially today. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.